Good evening, everybody. Hey, welcome. Dadman Walking 55 here with you 1 minute after the hour of 8 p.m. on the East Coast of the great old USA. Welcome, friends. Welcome, friends. Welcome, friends, is what I got to say. We've got five of you already waiting in the chat, watching us either on YouTube or Twitch. Make sure you, you know, sign up. Well, it's free. It's free, I tell you. Hey, follow us over on Twitch at Dadman Walking 55. Like and subscribe over here on the YouTube side, Dadman Walking 55. Let us get to 500 soon. I cannot do it without you guys and ladies out there, you wonderful people. Well, folks, listen. Tonight is going to be an episode that's on fire, folks. I will tell you. Get to talk to a passionate football fan. Folks, if you want a 24-hour stream, I think this would be the 24-hour stream for college football that's possible with this guest tonight. One of my earliest people that was not family or close friend related that had actually kicked the tires on this broadcast last year. And really, really cool to actually talk to people on the other side of the Southeastern Conference, myself. So, well, stay with us till the end of the show. We got a few channel announcements and some updates and things we got it. But hey, no further ado. The night's only going to go by really, really quick with this guest tonight. It's the great, the only, and if you've probably seen him in a lot of chats around this great small time republic. How are you at small time?
Doing great, Dad, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh man, I tell you what, I remember last year early on, I was like just starting streaming, getting kicked out there, and you said you would talk football, and I'm like, dang it, down, and I'm like, hey, a year later, hey, you're here.
That's right.
Absolutely. Yep. And thank you for the support in the early days too, because as we know, it's hard to find people that really like to talk college football in a lot of our circles.
Yeah, there is some overlap, but there are a lot of people that when they hear sports ball, they immediately tune out. So, but yeah, there's definitely some overlaps as far as the people that that like all the different types of content that you and other people in the community talk about.
Well, I still say it's my mission to make everybody. Maybe I'll beat them down by sheer will and willpower to make sports again, college football, great again. So anyway, borrow a phrase.
Yeah, it really before I was into the really Star Wars or a lot of the stuff that people that are in our part of the internet are into. Before I got into any of that, I was into college football. So it's
especially living down south, it was an institution,
Yeah.
Especially, like in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, all these states in the Southeast. It's like, it was, the whole joke is about family divisions, split households, Georgia, Florida, and a married couple, Alabama, Auburn, or Florida State, all over the place. So,
yep, there's no doubt.
Yeah. Well, good. Just a little bit about what we talked about here. A little bit about yourself. You don't stream, but you do pop around and throughout a lot of the chats. Any particular areas of interest that you have outside of obviously college sports, college football that we're talking tonight?
Yeah. So yeah, I've popped on different streams. Yeah, haven't really started up anything with my channel itself, but yeah, I'm on Joe's Atmosphere channel the most. I appear on a guy's channel by the name of John Graber that talks about Star Wars. Been on Wes Moody a few times, his channel. So just kind of bounced around, but but yeah, as far as this general interest, Star Wars, watching Marvel shows, Marvel animated series, college football, to a lesser extent the NFL. Those are probably the big ones, I would say. That just kind of observing pop culture. I used to really, when I was, I don't know, I'm 41 now. When I was in my 20s, I was really big into politics, and the older I've gotten, the more withdrawn I've gotten from that. So, but
they're kind of similar with me too. As I would do the radio talk shows, listen, going around debating everybody around, driving family crazy and stuff like that. But you know what? Honestly, as I've gotten older, my focus has been more to the silly stuff, the fun stuff, and whether it's movies or just doing stupid memes. I mean, like some of the stuff we do with our shows, it's just trying to avoid the stressful stuff and really to make people laugh and have fun. I mean, even the way I approach sports is different. I was always the combative, in your face, annoying, give the hell to the FSU or Georgia fan, really, really personal with it. But as I've gotten older, it's like, yeah.
Right.
When people do that, especially with the opponents, I kind of understand it, but it's not the same. Let's enjoy the sports, especially as you get older. These seasons fly way too fast. I mean, I
They
don't know.
do.
Like, I'm 53 years old, and my God, the off season goes so far fast now. I mean, and when I was in high school, it took for freaking ever. You had the damn school year. Football was over. Then it was like the 5 months left of the spring term just took forever. But now, as I'm getting older, it's maybe it's because there's more sports in the spring football. Maybe I don't know what it is, but it's like next thing you know, it's August and there's training camp, and hey, we got football again.
Well, you got to think about it, conceptually, a year of your time at 53 is a different percentage of your life than it is when you're 12, 13 years old. So, or even 18, 19 years old. So,
Yep.
It's all about perspective. But
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You mentioned spring football. I did see where the USFL and the XFL are likely to merge.
Yes.
So that'll be very interesting.
Well, now that you mentioned that, let's say hi to the chat, but let's say hi to one of the most brilliant young minds around, Buddy Hepburn, who actually sent me an article about that. He called this. He said a while back that wait for these two leagues to merge. So, but yeah, that will be interesting. I don't see how you could. I mean, it's just two leagues is probably too much, But hey, but it'll be good to see what happens, That way we will have the closest thing to possibly for the future having almost year-round football. But and actually, some of the competition, I don't know how much of the XFL you got to see. I didn't get to see much of the USFL, but the XFL was not bad at times. Did you get to see any of it?
I didn't watch much of it. Mainly just some clips. One thing that they did that was kind of intriguing, and I don't even remember which spring league it was, but one of them had a kickoff that basically the whole goal of it is to try to reduce injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I think they basically allowed the the kicking team, those 10 players, so minus the kicker, allowed them to be further up the field, so that they're. But I think they had to like wait till the ball was caught.
The XFL, it was like they kicked the ball and it had to be caught, and then the other side was 10 yards away. It was really, really kind of cool to watch. And they couldn't kick touchbacks. They had to kick it. And it's like they did both. They forced a return, but then had it where, you could slow down on
they didn't want somebody running in there 100 miles an hour. Yeah,
exactly. Well, let's go ahead and finish saying hi to the rest of the chat. Buddy Hepburn posted this yesterday, actually. Last night was last night at 6:49 he came in when I was setting up the stream. So Buddy is dedicated. Good to see you, Buddy. Castle with a howdy, Mr. Multitasking himself. Castle, and if around here, if it doesn't go right, we blame him or Billy Napier. So, and Starter Poopus Cooper, Hello Humans and other critters. Yeah, all right. He's setting it for his pre-snooze visit. Where are the snacks? Mrs., we got anything? I don't know.
I'm just glad that we have YouTube in the North Pole.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Snort it. There you go. Stunning. Oi! Standard greeting from one of our favorite Canadians, and the great, the beautiful, the Mrs. Dadman Walking, who is responsible for most of the graphics and definitely keeping me on the air when things go wrong.
Yeah, so, I love listening to the back and forth between you and her on the driving streams. That's always fun.
Oh, that was awesome. And we're still trying to do this from time to time, depending where we are. But it's like we were going to do it in the next week or so, but our trip got canceled, unfortunately. So, but yeah, thank you. A lot of people do like that, and y'all go back and look at them too. They're out on our playlist and out on the channel. Let's see. Small Time says hello, and it's Lisa, our resident chef, gardener, and everything else here. Good to see you tonight. and who throws the mushrooms at Snorter Poopus's way. So, yep, exactly. And Rowan McPhee, good to see you tonight. Hey, good to see you. How are you doing? And this was like when we were talking earlier. Yeah, time flies. It truly does. And just got to make time for every moment you got here. And uh, hell, Captain JT Kirk is in. Hello, sir. Good to see you. Good to see you tonight. So, and I'm just trying to look here to see if we got anybody else that popped in. All right. Snore Poopa sticks a snoot out the window and mooches. I guess so. He's getting those. He's getting those that, and Snore Poopas would hug back, but you know, bear hugs are a bit crunchy.
Yeah, they
Yes,
are.
and
Hey,
we.
have you ever seen
Yeah.
those videos of where someone's in a cage and the polar bear is on the outside of the cage trying to get in it? You get some perspective on how big those things are.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Oh, you're too funny, Lisa. You're too funny. We will do it again soon. I know for sure. And yeah, I'm glad you're back. Good to see you again. Good to see you. And Lisa's got the snacks, so tomorrow. Uh talk to you later about that. It's possible, but I gotta put it in a big window, so the small window anyway. All right. So see, I mean, you come to college football, Fortnite breaks out. So hey.
Yeah.
All right. So all right. Well, welcome back. Welcome back, and good to see you as always. 10 people here watching. Make sure you hit that like button for us on the YouTube side. Subscribe if you haven't. Bring your friends in. We're on the march to 500. I can't believe we're close, but we're there. And follow us on the Twitch side. All right. All the greetings and everything taken care. Listen, like I said, this guest knows his college football. This is great to have, and we could do a 24-hour stream with this guy, I'm sure. But hey, we only have a limited time tonight, so let's get started, shall we? We will get into the action, and like we always do, we will take a look at last week's action, and then in the mid part, we're going to talk about some of our history from fans and a little bit about our history a little more with college football. So as we always say here, hey, StreamYards is working tonight. Nice StreamYard, good StreamYard. I was watching a stream earlier today, small time, and oh gosh, the streamer had it was all kinds of Dickens from StreamYard. So let's all put a little dessert or hug for StreamYard in there tonight so it goes right. So
yeah.
But hey,
be nice to it. Yeah,
exactly. But everybody, yeah, snort a poopus. There you go. Misbehave. There you go. Polar bears are entitled to do what they want. So, but remember, our basic thing is, folks, this is not a gambling site. Nothing we could do or say should be taken for gambling purposes. We don't deal with points. We don't deal. Just if you don't use us as a site to say I want to pick or whatever, because we're not gambling. We're just people here to have some fun talking about football. And enjoying being wrong a lot. So at least sometimes there's some weeks I'm like, I just shake my head like, what the heck happened? Because I tell you, there's one team in the SEC I hate to pick for, and I'll tell you a little bit later. So okay, all right. Did you get to watch many of the games this weekend?
I did. I got to see several of them. There was there was an early game, Auburn at Texas A&M that I didn't care for too much, but
no,
other than that, not too bad.
How do you stand the 11 o'clock freaking kickoffs? I mean,
yeah.
We'll get back. We'll get into that when we get to that game. So we're going to look at probably what was considered the biggest game of the week, which really became a dud to me. So actually, there are two teams I hate picking in the SEC. And one of them is Old Piss, like I like to call them, just for the fun of it. A friend of mine did. Because, I mean, Lane Kiffin, all this promotion, great offense, all the stuff. And then when they play one of the top teams, like last year we totaled Alabama, A&M, LSU, and I think Mississippi State, and Ole Miss was 0-4 against them.
Well, if you think about it, Lane Kiffin has coached over 100 college games. I don't know what the exact number is, but between USC, Florida Atlantic, and Ole Miss, he's comfortably over 100 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sure there's been an important game he's won, but I can't think of one.
I really can't either. No,
Just off
definitely
the
not
top of
at
my head. Yeah.
Tennessee. Definitely not at Tennessee.
Oh, that's right. He was at Tennessee for a year
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
yeah, and he just left them high and dry to go to USC. Plus he was
Yep.
also in time like an NFL assistant a little bit, kind of like in the back rooms. Some of the people in Jacksonville called him Lane Kitten.
Yeah.
So
And
it's like,
he got run out of town in Oakland. So uh,
yeah,
before
but
he even got into college, as far as a head coach,
gosh,
he was
but
a
hey,
young. I mean, he was a really young head coach with the Raiders. Like 30 or something like.
mhm.
He was 31 somewhere in there. Young guy.
Well, in a school like Ole Miss struggles to get a name like that, but there's still rumors with him. I take flirt with other jobs every year. You know,
Yep.
other NFL or other jobs. I mean, it's bad enough with Jim Harbaugh. We saw what happened to with Dan Mullen in Florida, flirting too much with the Dallas Cowboys, and then the next year it went very, very south very quickly for them. So in this, Ole Miss went on the road to Tuscaloosa. It took a 7-3 lead early in the game. It looked hopeful. It was 7-6 at halftime. But then Alabama outscores Ole Miss 18-3 in the second half, going on to cruising to 24-10 win. Jalen Milroe for Alabama looked very good in this game. Very efficient. Not a lot of running. Had 16 carries, but remember sacks count against rushing yards in the college as opposed to against the passing yardage like in the National Football League. But he was 17-21, only 4 incompletions for 225 yards, had a touchdown and a pick, had a beautiful touchdown pass that when you saw it, he got drilled very hard when he released the ball. Perfect pass to the receiver, especially after the previous week and the not playing. It really was a great game for this young man to come out and play, maybe answer some of the critics. So we'll see. I've said this year that the key to Alabama is going to be their quarterback play. How he goes, which obviously the Tyler Buchner and Simpkins did not look competent at the SEC level in the week before against South Florida. Alabama their season will be based on how the quarterback plays. Like I've said about Tennessee. You see the Tennessee quarterback, Joe Milton, doesn't have the best game at Florida. It becomes a road loss. So, but hey, we'll see where Alabama does. A lot of my early season predictions are changing drastically and quickly as the season goes along. Ole Miss was down offensively, only 56 yards rushing. Jackson Dart was 20-35 passing, 244 yards. Didn't throw for a touchdown pass this time, but had a pick. 12 carries for 6 yards and a touchdown, which was the score in the first half. Jace McClellan for Alabama had 17 carries for 105 yards and a touchdown for the Crimson Tide. You see that Crimson Tide held the ball about 10 minutes longer than Ole Miss, and statistically, pretty bad, not too far off between it. But key in this game, Ole Miss ineffective at running the football. And when they've been effective, they've usually run for as much, if not more, than they've thrown. So, but once again, Lane Kitten again strikes again. Once again, playing a SEC West rival. When the big dogs can't win the game, so it goes back to what I've said is that you can't win the SEC West if you can't beat the big guys. So, but we'll see. We'll see. He's got more shots coming down the road for this season. We'll see. We'll see what the Egg Bowl. The Egg Bowl is the final game of the year for Ole Miss playing against Mississippi State Bulldogs. So, all right. Well, we will go ahead and move on to our next game here. And, oh, boy. All right. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Thank God we had a dinner a dinner out with friends the other night for this game. The Gators, after such a magnificent week, forgot that Billy Napier needed to know when he shut his offense down in the second half against Tennessee, he ended up shutting it down again this whole damn game. The Gators hit 5 field goals in this game. Thank God they got a new kicker that can actually kick. Trey Smack was 5 of 5, the long one at 54 yards. Thank God for your kicker. That's scary. Although the Gators dominated this game statistically with 21 first downs to 10, time of possession was fairly even. Florida did not run the ball as well as they did the previous week against Tennessee. But Graham Mertz led the way with 20 of 23, only 3 incompletions, 259 yards, a lot of efficiency with some of the quarterbacks this week in the conference, 259 yards and a touchdown. Ricky Pearsall for the Gators had 6 receptions for 104 yards. Jalen Jones for Charlotte was 11 of 16 for 111 yards. As we see, this was one of the games that I really, it was good that we had been out. Because if you want to hear a Dadman rant, this is the game that you should have me go live and stream it while it's playing. And not talking about the game, not doing play-by-play, but you just get live reaction. Small time. This game here, like I said, I'm glad we went out to dinner with friends because that was a pleasant experience, a new Italian place. This is one of those that I hate these games because either they're not going to play well enough and I'm pissed off, or they're going to blow them out so badly it's like I get bored.
Yeah, it's one of those where they're just going to be sloppy, and sometimes it like within the first 5 or 10 minutes of the game, how that game's going to play out.
Yeah.
I had to step away during the previous game, but
one thing I did want to mention. Alabama? Yeah, let me go back to Alabama real quick. Yep. Okay.
One thing I did want to mention about that is, Lane Kiffin, between like what we talked about, the Raiders, Tennessee, Florida Atlantic. I guess he won his conference at Florida Atlantic, but Ole Miss, all these USC, all these. I think he's coached at 5 different places, and he hasn't left. He's left people with a bad taste in their mouth at different points at all of them, just about.
It's like he's a slash and burn. It burns the bridges wherever he's been. I know Tennessee. I mean, they really resented the way he left them after 1 year. It was like he wasn't even there long enough for a cup of coffee. And
USC left him at the airport. Al Davis hated him after like 1 or 2 years. So, he's not always done the best thing. You've got some Ole Miss people that were mad about him using Auburn for leverage to get a bit bigger contract with them the past offseason. Despite they lost their I think maybe last 3 regular season games, something like that.
Let me touch on that real quick because I tell you what, I think sometimes you're better off to fire the guy or encourage him to leave. Because I was not happy Mullen was shopping to the NFL because he played the such game like he was a Gator and wanted to be there. That was disappointing. But one of the biggest ones that I'll talk about is called Urban Meyer, but at least I didn't say Oscar Meyer this time. But, when he, after getting his ass kicked, against Alabama in that one SEC championship game, and then he had, he had some health issues, they say, and all that stuff. Yeah. But the next season was not the same. They defaulted everything to Adazio. God, that was the worst offense. And I mean, we think the offenses were bad last year. I mean, that was horrible. And he really had checked out. And I really, because they begged him, oh, stay on. I firmly believe if you got a coach that's itching or looking elsewhere, it's like that girlfriend of yours or a stunning remedy. You're a remedy chick. If they're looking elsewhere, let them go, because that was a wasted year for Florida at that point. That next season.
It really, you could tell Urban Meyer was not, that he was on autopilot that last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of it was, from the time he was an assistant coach all the way through that 2009 season at Florida, I think he was burning the candle at both ends.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of football, I think he was probably 24/7 football, and I think it caught it with him health-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he had a really emotional connection to Tebow.
Mm-hmm.
And when Tebow left, he just wasn't sure how to, how to keep that train rolling.
Well, I still kind of jilted, and it's good that you're more of a neutral observer than I am, because with your team sitting here left by him, you beg him to stay, he stays, and then you hear the reports that he takes another job within 2 years, and then he goes up there, because there's not a secret now about the environment that was down there with the nature of the activities of a lot of the players.
Yeah.
But when you hear the reports, he goes up to another big major university and then recruits with don't send your kids there because it's a bad environment. Well, dude, you created an environment.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not hard to have hard feelings. So
It wasn't. I think there was a 30 for 30 on that, on the basically the environment around the Florida Gators.
yes.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, and then you look at what happened, his little experiment with the NFL. That was
yeah.
that
And I
thing
say
crashed
30
and
for
burned
30,
badly.
a documentary like that. I don't know if it was that, but
Yep, absolutely.
that came out in the past few months. But yeah, and then he goes to Ohio State, and runs into
That
that
you would
issue
have
with
thought
that
he would have been
assistant
set.
coach.
You would have thought he'd been set for life with being a job the coach there, because always the rumors were him and Notre Dame too.
Yep.
Something up in that area, but I guess not. Oh, look, we have football streaming, and Urban Meyer discussion broke out. I can't believe it.
Well, he is named after a pope, so it would make sense that he would end up at Notre Dame at some point. But
no, that's what the
that's
talk
not
was.
going to happen.
I see Stunning. He knows about hard feelings. When they look at the other way, his NPC in Fortnite didn't stay loyal to him in Frenzy Fields. So,
but between Saban and Kiffin in that game, I actually like Saban more as a person than I do Kiffin, even though he's my arch rival. But
yeah.
But yeah,
exactly.
the Florida
that's
Charlotte
the thing is
game,
respecting a coach. It's also respecting the coach, because he's earned Saban's earned that credibility because of the way he carries himself on the field, the way he and he wins, and he's been loyal to his program. I mean, he did this time at LSU, then jumped to the NFL, but then came back. But he's been loyal to his program. Whereas you have potential mercenary coach.
Yeah.
Well,
this week Saban said, we're playing Mississippi State this week. They'll be the best team we've played since Texas, or something like. In other words, it's sort of a kind of a underhanded shot at Kiffin.
Like you said, he anoints everybody and leaves a path of destruction everywhere he goes. But yeah, it's see, that's where I think Tennessee's in a good spot, and I think Georgia's in a good spot. I do not see Kirby Smart going for an NFL job. Period. I do. He's home. Josh Heupel is a college football guy. He's a Heisman winner, quarterback play. I don't see him anytime soon going to the NFL. And I look at two programs that are stability because why the coaches are loyal to that program. They're not looking. Meyer was looking. Dan Mullen obviously was looking at the NFL and was like, and he let go what he forgot to take care of business at home, with all that. So,
I think Kirby Smart's probably arguably one of the most perfect people to be a college football coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's just wired for that. I think if the Dallas Cowboys came and said, "Hey, we'll give you $1 billion," I think he would say no.
Well, there was an article last week. It was earlier this week, just after the South Carolina win. That game, they went to halftime. South Carolina was dominating at 14-3. Which I have a side story with that for people with us when we get to the Georgia game. The what's it? Or was it oh shoot, that was last week. I got my weeks confused, but really with this week, it was they were down 14-3, and he's coming off the field. And one of the run backs said later, they talked to him, "Coach, why didn't you scream and yell at us? Why didn't you chew us out?" And he said, "Well, I was going to, but one of the sports psychologists grabbed me coming off the field and said, 'Coach, go easy on them. They know. Just let them go. Let them be. They'll get it.'" And in the second half, Georgia, turned the game around, completely dominating. Carolina outscoring them 21-0. So hey, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I agree with you with him and his mannerisms. So
yeah,
go ahead.
He's more of a he's just more of a rah-rah guy. I
Yeah.
don't see his style working in the NFL.
No, I kind of like Spurrier. I like Spurrier. I miss Coach Spurrier. Could
Yeah.
never replace him. Even though we got 2 titles with the guy, still Spurrier is my all-time Gator coach. I mean, he is Gator. He's home. It's one of us, not somebody that came through. You know, you appreciate the championships. Thank you for your service, and we'll see you down the road. But hey, anything about with this game too? Any other comments? Because I mean, it's what it is.
Nope, just a slog.
Yes, exactly. I mean, yeah, I got back for the second half, and it was like I missed the score fest in the first half. So we will move on to the great. Yes, I got my weeks confused. It was Georgia beat UAB, but gave up 21 points in the whole process. So hey, oh, Castle's back lurking again. Good to see you, Castle. We actually used your name, I think, a minute ago, but hey, yeah. But Georgia wins 49-21 against UAB. Again, over 500 yards on offense. Carson Beck was 22 of 32, 338 yards, 3 touchdowns. He ran the ball 4 times, only 7 yards, but for 1 touchdown. Dajon Edwards for Georgia had 12 carries for 66 yards, but 2 touchdowns on the day. And Brock Bowers, one of the most dominating receivers in the Southeastern Conference. And you may see a lot of him this week, small time, when we talk about it. The tight end for Georgia, 9 catches for 121 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. Jacob Zeno for UAB was 32 of 51 for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. But one thing of significance in this game, that Georgia turned the ball over 3 times, which is very uncharacteristic of Georgia.
Well, and as far as Brock Bowers, I mean, he's one of those that, like, as a freshman, like right out of the gate, early in his freshman season, everybody could tell that he was going to be an NFL talent. I mean, he's really gifted.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as him scoring 21, let's see, 250 yards passing.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
I didn't
one
get
of
to
the
see
touchdowns.
the game, but
One of the touchdowns was a little bit late in the game, but still, you know, when you see UAB putting up 21 against Georgia, you sort of take, you sort of wonder. But I think a lot of that was garbage time points. But
yeah,
I think that there is some concern up in Georgia, you know, with the effectiveness of how Carson Beck's playing. What's going to happen, you know, when they play a real, you know, especially if they go on the road. Like you go on the road to Tennessee, I will say. And actually, honestly, Florida's giving me some hope. What about in the game in Jacksonville, possibly, if Florida's defense is for real?
Right.
So.
Yeah, I didn't get to see any of this, but yeah, I mean, Trent Dilfer, he was a good college quarterback, so he must know how to coach him up at that level at least. Never cared for him in the pros, but
yeah, and I believe this is his first coaching job too.
Yep, he coached high school last year.
Yep. Oh, well, hey, they'll all come around. All I remember is he won a Super Bowl somehow.
He got it. It's like when Peyton Manning won it in 2015.
Yeah, he just won it by default. Or
Right.
The defense.
Yeah,
that's my thing to Mr. Elway. Yeah, Peyton Manning didn't win you your Super Bowl. Peyton, it was your defense. So, because I had to all hear about how Tebow was so bad, but it was their defense. Anyway, sorry. Another Tebow crusade. So, hey, we'll save that for another time.
Playoff game winner, Tim Tebow.
Exactly. A touchdown pass on the first play of the first game, where it was you had to score a touchdown on the first possession to be sudden death.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, hey, there you go. Great memory to go out on, you know. Well, this game was a battle of the SEC West, upper top teams. This game surprised me as close as it was. LSU does pull out the win at home, 34-31 over the Pigs. Very balanced between the two teams, over 500 yards for LSU, about 424 Arkansas. Arkansas did hold the ball for 10 minutes longer than LSU, but 2 turnovers. 2 turnovers in a game like this, especially on the road. Shoot yourself in the foot. You can't win like that in the conference, committing turnovers. Jaden Daniels for LSU was 20 of 29, 320 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick. 2 LSU players both had receiving yards over 100 yards. Brian Thomas Jr. Had 5 catches for 133 yards with 2 touchdowns And Malik Neighbors, 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Meanwhile, for Arkansas, KJ Jefferson, 21 of 31 for 281 yards, 289 yards, 3 touchdowns, but the 2 critical interceptions. And Luke Haas for Arkansas had six catches for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns. Small time. I know you're more familiar with the West than I am, but Arkansas is one of those teams. We could put 3 teams I hate picking. Arkansas is another one because they got a good coach with Sam Pittman. Things looked up the first year. Last year, major disappointments, and then this year they lose a game badly that they got out of. They lose to BYU at home. Then they go on the road and nearly beat LSU. So I don't get it.
Yeah, they're a tough team. I mean, pretty much any year they're a tough team to figure out in terms of trying to predict if they're going to win or lose a game. Other than the fact that I think they've lost to Nick Saban every year since he's been at Alabama at least, but or he may have beat them once, but yeah, I mean they're. I did watch a lot of this game, and these teams look pretty evenly matched. It took LSU basically ran down the clock and kicked a chip shot field goal to win it, as to keep it from going into overtime. But yeah, I was impressed with the way Arkansas battled. I think they got the right coach. Just the problem with that school is recruiting. They just a lot of times are behind your the blue bloods of the SEC in terms of getting the players in. They're kind of the SEC West equivalent of South Carolina.
Yes, I agreed.
They can beat you on any given week, but no matter who you are, but they're just not quite there on when it comes to talent.
And we don't even have time to get into the issues surrounding things like that NIL, the name, image, likeness issue, which is making it harder for a lot of schools, and including like Arkansas, but even some schools like Florida or Clemson. The talk with Dabo Swinney, they've lost 2 games now up at Clemson, and that's the ACC, but is that he doesn't want to use the transfer portal or doesn't want to NIL, all this stuff, but
yep. You can be old school to your detriment sometimes.
Exactly. So, this really was a dramatic game. This probably was one of the best, if not the best, games of the week in the conference. Like I said, the surprise. I did not have expectations for Arkansas considering the way they lost at home to BYU. But KJ Jefferson is a very talented quarterback. I'd be interested to see if he gets a shot in the NFL, though, because everybody focuses on Daniels and all these other guys, especially now that the National Football League does not insist that a quarterback must take every snap under center every time and do a traditional pro style drop back passing in it like Tebow was forced to. Small time. I'm sorry. That ran in now. It's okay. Amazing with timing. It's amazing with timing. That's what's so frustrating. It's like, why didn't you guys years ago be willing to open up? But either way, KJ Jefferson is a young, talented guy. I like him. I've seen him play enough that I think he could do well if you give the right RPO situations, kind of like Hendon Hooker was with Tennessee last year.
Yeah, he could. I don't know how well he did in the NFL. He's not a sure thing, but he'll get a shot. When you mentioned Tebow with the Broncos, I got to think about when he was a rookie, and they did a little hazing with the rookies, where basically he had to get like a Fryer haircut.
Yes.
And they taped him to the goalpost,
Oh gosh!
At the same time, so
they get kind of hazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we got 7 people still here with us tonight, and I'm sure there's people lurking. Make sure y'all hit that like button, sub if you haven't. Oh my gosh! Follow us on Twitch. We're just having fun going through the SEC schedule. Now, this is a game that turned out pretty good. This could have gone against Missouri, especially with some of their other performances, like against Middle Tennessee State. But Missouri holds on to a win against Memphis 34-27. Again, Missouri with over 500 yards of offense, over 300 yards in the air, 200 rushing, although Memphis held the ball longer. Really a back-and-forth game. Brady Cook for Missouri was 18 of 25 for 341 yards, 2 touchdowns. Cody Schrader for the Tigers ran the ball 14 times for 123 yards and a touchdown. Luther Burden, the third, had 10 receptions for 177 yards. And Seth Hennigan for Memphis was 31 of 47 passing for 316 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Again, Missouri held the lead, held off on this game. This is a game I expected a traditional Missouri would, even though at home, would just flop.
Yeah, and this was one of those where they played it in a stadium that probably doesn't get a whole lot of action now, unless it's for I guess non-major football things, and that they played it in St. Louis.
Yeah, so well, I tell you what, that daggum lighting was strange.
Yeah, it was. This is not to criticize the game at all, but it was played in St. Louis and it was played on ESPNU.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I don't know, it was a very ESPNU type of game. I think sometimes people legitimately forget that Missouri is in the SEC.
Right. Okay. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, they're decent. They're 4-0. Hey, you're 4-0. You can't get better than that.
Nope. Win's a win. You move on. A couple of things of note. One, where's Whoopa Troopa talking about that St. Louis Stadium? He goes to those games, the XFL games there. But the other is my friend B from our other Auburn fan. Last week was talking. Either him or R.C. Dobbins the week before. We're talking about how Missouri doesn't even feel like it's part of the SEC. Shouldn't even be in the conference.
No, they really shouldn't. Clemson and Florida State are better fits than Missouri.
When they expanded in 2012, it brought Missouri and Texas A&M. I didn't like it either. I didn't even want A&M. The Texas culture just seemed different. It just didn't seem like SEC. But I could understand A&M because of the football history. I couldn't understand Missouri other than maybe speculation about basketball. But then again, you see what happened. Missouri's basketball's gone into the tank all these years. If it does not fit well, look, we could have done a tour of the Western stadiums, and I probably should have gone by that Missouri because we were up there, and we were on our drive back. I was like, dang it, I should have gone to all these stadiums because we did visit Tiger Stadium, but we saw signs for Ole Miss, Mississippi State. We were in Fayetteville with the Pigs. I mean, it was like, dang, why didn't I plan this? Well, we did Battlefield, so
yeah. As best I can figure, there were 2 reasons Missouri joined the SEC, or that I've always just heard or speculated on, and that's one, they're considered a good academic institution. So the SEC, wanted to maybe beef that up a little bit.
Well, we got Vanderbilt. I'm just kidding.
True. And then the other thing was the St. Louis and Kansas City TV markets.
Yeah.
Came into play. So, and expanded the footprint by going into a state where they didn't have a team. So I get all that, Texas, but
also, yeah.
Yeah, I get all that. I still it doesn't feel right.
Doesn't work. Yeah, it does. It's kind of like Stanford and Cal now joining the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Oh yeah, now everything's gone off.
Or Texas, or SMU now joining was the ACC with them. I mean, like why? And what's going off on another topic, but we talked about it some. SMU has given up its conference revenue rights for like 10 years or something. I'm like, who can afford to do that? People are making decisions to attach to a Power 5 name that justify logic, but that's another show for another day.
Yeah, I did want to mention that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I heard that Brady Cook has been banged up week to week, so he's going to have to be 100% whenever they start playing like Georgia, Tennessee, those type teams for them to have a chance.
Absolutely, this team,
even Florida,
without him as basically Cody Schrader is the main running back. But then again, without that, they've struggled to find a quarterback. He's emerged in some ways by default because for a couple of years they've been him and another guy were fighting it off, and he's last year finally stepped forward and emerged. But it's always been hit or miss with him. He can, like this week, he's 18 to 25, but there are games where he's barely 50%.
Yeah,
and. So, but yeah, it's your quarterback. It starts with your quarterback and goes from there. Well, all right, and that's a good point to think. We have to keep in consideration. This game turned out kind of a rocket fest with a lot of points. Mississippi State goes to Columbia, South Carolina. The Gamecocks win 37-30. Yes, so um, we have fun with mascots too. So we around here love having fun with the South Carolina mascots. Obviously, it's like we're a bunch of high schoolers, but uh, Mississippi State is a team I can't figure out. Air raid offense. Now, Mike Leach tragically passed away before the bowl game last year, and he's now been replaced. A new coach has took over last year, and is now running the team. Last week, was they when the big loss to LSU, they threw for about 100 something yards, which is uncharacteristic. But it's like they tried to run the football. There have been several games this year. Mississippi State has been trying to
Yep.
be a run
Arizona.
dominant team. Yeah, yeah, and it's like, what are you? This game, they come out, let Will Rogers go 30 of 48, 487 yards, a touchdown and a pick. This is a typical Mississippi State team that we're used to seeing. Spencer Rattler, though, outdid him 18 of 20. The efficiency of some of these quarterbacks this week, only 2 incompletions. That's amazing.
Well, and he
288
was
yards. Yeah,
in
go
the
ahead.
first half against Georgia. He did everything you could ask.
Yeah, exactly. And I know the people in Tennessee are talking about this, and they're concerned about him and his efficiency. Um, so, and we'll talk about a little bit more about that as we get up to previewing that game. Xavier Leggett for USC, 5 catches for 189 yards. I love that. Over 30 yards of completion, 2 touchdowns, a 76-yard and a 75-yard touchdown catch. Lejedrick Griffin for MSU, 7 catches for 256 yards. Even better, I think. Touchdown, 65-yard touchdown reception thrown in there. And I might not have said hey to you the first time, JT Kirk. If I did, sorry, I missed you. But welcome back. What are your thoughts with this game?
I watched more of the LSU Arkansas game than this one, but I mean, pretty even matchup there. Mississippi State just just came a little bit short. Obviously, I'm sure they want that more balanced in terms of passing, rushing, but at some point, you are who you are, and you got to play your strength. So,
and I will say that that's a good coach that will adjust to their strength.
Yeah.
I mean, we have some question about that on in Gainesville because Donovan, I'm thinking basketball now, but Napier's like this thing about throwing it vertical and running the ball. Well, you know what? You got to deal with your talent and what you have, and adapt. And there have been games where he did not adapt. He does the same thing. I think the second half of Tennessee and that game last week is one of those cases. The game against Utah, open it up and just do something different. But they're so beholden to whatever system or the way they want to do it, instead of just letting it go and taking advantage of the situation.
I think that that they'll have a game plan, and they're afraid to diverge from that game plan too much.
Florida, Tennessee, listening to, because I listen primarily to the sports animal out of Knoxville for any of my sports, and I find them fair, balanced, really good. They know their stuff, but there's a lot of speculation that maybe Hypo in that Florida game got stuck on a certain way of doing it and was going to keep doing it no matter what, and then they fell behind, and and it happens to a lot of coaches. I've seen Spurrier many times would not run the ball when it was there, but had to keep passing, and or you get down there running the football, and then we got to pass inside the 10-yard line.
Well, and there's been games where Spurrier has passed the ball with the lead where he needed to be running the ball.
Right.
But now Will Rogers, I know some of his extended family, and and they're good people, so I'm sure he is too. And he played at the same high school as Gardner Minshew.
Oh, really?
Wow. Mike Leach coached at Washington State, and I think that's how Mike first found him, was that connection with Gardner Minshew. But,
well, that's good to see Gardner Minshew get a win this week. I'm cheering for him over the Anthony Richardson guy. Really, Minshew was a backup here. Jacksonville got kind of with a new draft pick. Now he goes up there as a bench guy, but he wins his first start. I think he could, it's a good feel story, but that's NFL. We'll talk about that another day. But
he is kind of an underdog, though.
Minshew, exactly. It's a guy you want to cheer for, Any other thoughts with this game before we move on? We've got a lot else to cover. So
No, just impressed with Mississippi State's fight.
exactly. Hey, Tennessee. We won't spend a lot of time on this game. The Volunteers at Rocky Top. God, that stupid song stuck in my head. It was so bad. I actually went on a karaoke show and sang Rocky Top, even though the Gators won, because I made the bet that Florida wouldn't win, so I would sing it if they did.
Well, all I
But
know is they sing it a lot.
yeah, every first down, Rock Top. But then again, in the last 20 years, they didn't have much to cheer for, so a first down is a big thing. So,
Yeah,
uh,
sometimes that was enough to celebrate. Yeah.
exactly. Well, Texas San Antonio had the ball, wait 15 minutes, but 3 turnovers. See, time of possession is one of those games where it's overrated. Joe Milton ran the first play from scrimmage offensively for Tennessee, which was an 81-yard touchdown run, which has been a big complaint about him up there. Is he won't run the ball enough. 5 carries for 89 yards on the day, 18 of 31 for 209 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dylan Sampson was like the third string running back for the Volunteers, who had 11 carries, 139 yards, and 2 touchdowns, while Jabari Small had 9 carries and 61 yards and a touchdown. Tennessee held a 31-0 lead at halftime. Texas San Antonio scored 14 coming out of the gate, and then Vols put a couple more meaningless touchdowns up to get to the final margin of 31 points.
Yeah. I know it's
Any comments? Yeah, go
yeah, I
ahead.
know it's spelled a little bit differently, but as long as Sampson doesn't get a haircut, I think he'll
Yes.
be good the rest of the year. Um,
Well,
Now, one thing I'll say about Milton, he has an absolute cannon. When he
yes,
when
he
he throws
does.
the ball, it reminds me of Michael Vick in the sense that like neither one of them they can just flick it and it goes 40
Yeah.
yards. Um,
Well, I tell you what, and this is where I disagreed with some of the Tennessee fans after the game. They were like, "Oh, doesn't do that." I mean, he made some very nice throws against the Gators. There was one he put right over the linebacker or the safety's head, right to one of his receivers. It was an amazing catch too. It was beautiful. His downfield passes hit the guys in stride for the touchdown or for set up scores. I mean, it's almost like if they would just throw the ball downfield and let him just chunk it instead of that short stuff all the time, you
right.
know. But
Now, I
hey,
do think Hendon Hooker probably had a little bit better feel for the game.
mm-hmm,
It seemed like Hooker was just a real smart player.
yeah,
Um, and they may be lacking that a little bit with Milton. He may not have the highest football IQ, but he's just so gifted
mm-hmm,
uh, that
yes.
I think they'll end up having a good year.
Oh, who knows? I actually thought the thing with Tennessee is I figured I originally was going to pick them to win the East. I didn't because it came down to I thought Joe Milton would the normal Joe Milton would show up for at least one game, and he did against Gainesville. In
Yeah,
Gainesville, I thought Florida had no chance, but it happens. But they're a talented team. They're got a coach that's there for a while. They will get better, and they will. Maybe not having the Eastern Division would be great for the Gators because Tennessee's going to be up there with Georgia for a long time. And we got the great JT Kirk coming in with I don't know what the heck. Sometimes my chat gets very interesting and I love it. Aren't all rocks 3-dimensional and therefore have a top? They also have a bottom and sides.
this
Yeah,
is
but
true.
see, corn don't grow on Rocky Top because it's soil's rocky by far. That's why folks on Rocky Top get their corn from a jar.
Is that a
I,
moonshine reference?
it's actually part of the lyrics of Rocky Top. Oh, Rocky
Okay,
Top.
I got you.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever heard that, or I'm sure I've heard the whole song, but I rarely
yeah.
hear the whole song.
No, they play the first
Yeah,
damn verse again and again and again. It's like my wife cut me off of my unicorn song in the game. It's like, and at least all these people, I don't get to the second and third verses. There's more gold for you there, but hey,
yeah. Well, I like the song Rocky Top. I like to hear it once.
yes, I know.
Yeah,
Not every first down and say,
right.
hey, Max Redstone's here. All right. Yes, the SEC, especially cryptocurrencies. Good to see you tonight, Max Redstone. What a way. Oh my God.
By the
We
way,
got to,
there is a movie coming
yes,
out about the GameStop stuff that that the
yes,
Redditors did.
yes. I heard about that.
So that'll be interesting.
Yes. Well, let's get let's get to the game. Let you talk about this a bit. Uh, Auburn goes to Kyle Field, College Station, Texas. The Aggies pull away with a 27-10 win. This game was close at halftime. It was 6-3 at the half, a battle of field goals. But what's significant of it is that, and I did not realize at the time, Wegman, who was A&M starter up until this through half of this game, was replaced in the second half by Max Johnson, the LSU transfer, son of former FSU quarterback Brad Johnson.
Yep.
That was a change of a game, because look at that point, 402 yards of total offense, doubled the Auburn output. The running game took over, the 193 yards passing. Johnson was 7 of 11, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns to the air. Evan Stewart for A&M had 3 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown. Le'Veon Moss for A&M had 15 carries for 97 yards and a touchdown. The combined Auburn quarterbacks, three players threw passes for Auburn's, 9 of 23, 56 yards with a combined minus 12 yards rushing.
Yeah. Pretty much a disaster on all fronts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had 230 yards against Cal, and they get 200 here, against A&M. The offense just has problems. Now, the frustrating part as a fan is that I see the plays being run, and I see receivers running down all over the field wide open, and they just don't have anybody to get the ball to them. So the coaches are drawing up good plays. Um, whether it's the offensive line blocking or the quarterbacks not getting the ball there, a combination of both, uh, those things aren't happening. But I was really impressed with Texas A&M's defensive line because they were smothering Auburn's quarterbacks. Um, with that said, there were some times where Auburn's quarterbacks held onto the ball too long
Right.
or missed the receiver by 10 yards. But kudos to A&M's defense for they were the difference really.
And it's the same defense that gave up 40 something to Miami that got torched repeatedly against the
Yeah,
Hurricanes. But then again, I think both your quarterback receiver levels are much different at Miami. Van Dyke's been there for a number of years. Versus Auburn, who, I mean, Robbie Ashford was the starter coming in. Now it's Peyton Thorne, a transfer that really has looked anemic.
yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
like, how is this guy? I mean, why not at least go back to Alfred once and legitimately, because at least he can run the ball.
Well,
The Thorn has not seemed very mobile. Maybe it was A&M's defense. I don't know. But I mean, the same thing with Cal. It just really didn't seem like effective to either run or pass.
that and when he was at Michigan State 2 years ago, they went like I think 11-2.
Yes.
So
JT Kirk. JT Kirk, by the way. JT Kirk's our resident Michigan State fan. He's coming on the show down the road. I wonder, JT, I don't know if you remember Peyton Thorne at Michigan State. Maybe didn't get off the bench much. I don't know how much he played. If you got anything on that, feel free to chime in. But yeah, because I remember that was where it was another Big Ten quarterback. Yes, he's yes, sir, MSU alum. And if you know anything about this Peyton Thorne, who had been their quarterback for a couple of years. See, that's why I don't like Big Ten quarterbacks. I hate Wisconsin quarterbacks. I love Wisconsin. The people from Wisconsin are such
right.
sweethearts and darlings, but except for when they beat my Cowboys. But it. I don't like Wisconsin quarterbacks, and now we got Graham Mertz in Gainesville, and it's like, you have to just do it. So,
Well, a lot of these schools have a lot of transfers at quarterback year after year after year, and you wonder why can't these schools develop a quarterback? I mean, you look at
yeah,
Auburn. I can't. I mean, Bo Nix was came in out of high school. He was good, but then he transferred away. So it's been quite a number of years since Auburn had a good quarterback be there, for 4 years or 3 years or whatever, and that be the only school, that the player went to.
all right. Well, and yeah, I'm gonna touch on Bo next when we get to the polls in just a second because yeah, that is something. But yeah, I here JT Kirk is saying 49 touchdowns, 60% completion, 26 career starts, 224 yards per game. Wow. I tell you what, you would take that at Auburn, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. So you wonder if is it the talent, or is it just the lack of talent around him with the line? Because that line got manhandled badly in this game, and
Yeah, it really did, especially on passing downs. Auburn
mhm,
ran the ball decently. When you factor in that that A&M's defense could stack the box, Auburn ran it decently.
yep, exactly. I mean, 544 yards, but you got to have some threat of the passing game unless you're going to run for 400 yards. Oh, all right. Well, it's a game I kind of kept an eye on for a while. I was cheering for you guys, but you and B from O, uh, but it's just not meant to be. I mean, it probably will be a long year. I do think you got to have a great head coach. I think Hugh Freeze is going to be great for your program. Again, a coach that I don't think will go anywhere else. You know, I think
Yeah,
you have a better situation than like we talked about Lane Kitten and any of the other schools where the coaches may be looking to make a jump to the next level or something.
yeah.
So
It did. Now, it did feature a play where an Auburn defender ran between Jimbo Fisher and the sideline, where Jimbo Fisher was out on the field.
of course, no penalty. Of course, no
Yeah,
penalty.
yes. I
Yeah.
don't think there was a penalty.
Oh, they did. Oh
I don't.
wow,
I don't think
that's
there was.
oh there
No.
was okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Max Redstone called Snarpost the intramural polar bear cheerleader. All right. Oh, here, let's see. We have a bunch of cheerleaders right out, and of course, on cue, Snarpoopers will have 3 breakfasts to the dinner. Oh, oh my God. Oh, hey, and this here it goes. The great Max Redstone, that ridiculous statement was brought to you by the caps lock on and speech to text. Good night. Good night, Max Redstone. It's always an adventure and great. Well, hey, Snortopoopas did appreciate it. So you know that. So he'll love his cheerleaders and his mushrooms that Lisa throws at him. So, all right. Any other thoughts about this game, or should we move forward and talk about the future?
The one thing I'll leave it with, as bad as Auburn was, they were
Yeah.
down 20-10 with about 5.5 minutes left, and they were in field goal range and got a holding penalty. So this
Mm,
could have been a one possession game, even with as bad as Auburn was on offense.
yeah. And just think, if they not gotten that late touchdown at Cal,
Yep.
they'd still be having the 1 win. But hey, all right. Well, let's go and we will see the next game. This is the last game of the week. This was another 12 noon kickoff. Um, Actually, let me backtrack to this game here because I touched on it earlier. The thing with the SEC was you have Central Time Zone and Eastern Time Zone, and that 11 o'clock kickoff. I really believe that there should be no kickoff at a local time prior to noon local time. And Buddy Hepburn, I think we've talked about it before out there in the chat. If you're out in the chat and have an opinion, feel free to shout out with us. I don't. I just there's something about making players have to play or the fans go there before even noon. It just doesn't seem right. You got to get up so early already. You got to, I think, so early in the day. And honestly, as a fan, your football day is pretty much over then. You know, because at like a 3, 4 o'clock game or even a 7 o'clock game, hey, you got the day to rally up and all this. And
Right.
then this one it's done and it's over. It's got to be hard on the players to play so early in the day. Um, what do you, as a fan, do you like watching a game at 11 o'clock? Because see, to me, I get it 12 o'clock no matter what. So,
Yeah.
but
I
as a
don't mind. I don't know that it would be as fun to go to the game, but as far as just on TV, I don't. It doesn't bother me.
yeah,
I
I,
will say this: Max Johnson looked better than Wegman, and
I've been
Wegman's
thinking
out
that
for the
for
season.
I've been thinking for weeks. It's maybe one of those cases where an injury actually helps a case because they were not going to play Max Johnson at all. I mean, for some reason, Wegman was whatever. Max Johnson was effective at LSU. He was a darn good quarterback. And why and especially last year with the struggles A&M had on offense, and then they were starting to have more struggles again this year. Why not make the move? So, JT Kirk has a point here though. So, it was really odd that Peyton Thorne said 5 days before he hit the portal he never thought about transferring. After he went to Auburn, got an 80K Silverado Trail Balls pickup. Uh, Maybe his family's rich. I don't know.
Hey,
Huh?
there's no rules anymore, right?
There's no
So
rules anymore. Yeah, NIL and everything else. Yep. But either way, I'd almost want my money back for buying that truck.
yeah, he may have been worth a used vehicle the way he's played, but not a new one.
All right. Well, let's get to the last game of last week because we got so much to carry on with. Vanderbilt hosts Kentucky. Again, Vanderbilt might as well just write season off because they passed their window of teams that they can beat. Uh, can not what score? I screwed this one up. I flipped the scores. Dang it! I hate when I do that. And I check these things. So this is a Dadman boomer. Kentucky beats Vanderbilt 45-28. Kentucky jumped right off the bat, blowing open a big lead on Vanderbilt. Kentucky throws for 200 yards, runs for another 160. Devin Leary, the NC State transfer, is 15-29 for 205 yards, a touchdown, but 2 picks for Kentucky. Ray Davis, Kentucky's running back, played last year at Vanderbilt.
Yep.
17 carries, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. What's interesting with Ray Davis is he started, I think, at Temple or Rutgers. He started in the Northeast, then bounced around and bounced to Vanderbilt, now to Kentucky. It's like a model of what's become the free agent movement nowadays in college football.
Yeah, it's and they can use all these different loopholes to transfer multiple times. Like if you're a graduate student, you can have immediate eligibility with a second transfer, and
the SEC
confusing.
used to have where you had to wait a year but to transfer within the conference, and now they've taken that away. So Barry Brown for Kentucky had 4 catches, 105 yards, 1 rush for 4 yards. AJ Swan, I'm telling you, that's young talented quarterback, but for Vandy, 16 of 40, again below 50% completion. Bad sign. 189 yards, 3 interceptions. Vanderbilt commits 4 turnovers on the day. This means he's got 7 interceptions through 5 games the season to 11 touchdown passes. Ken Seals is the senior quarterback, finished up in mop-up duty, had some decent performance, but Vanderbilt has gone with A.J. Swan. What do you think with this game here between Kentucky and Vanderbilt? Did you have a chance to see any of it?
I didn't see any of it, but it just sounds like, Vandy had turnover issues. I think Vandy is, it's certainly not the worst Vandy team I've ever seen, but they're just limited in terms of what they can do. It's simple as that. I did watch the game they played against Hawaii, and if I remember correctly, they took care of them pretty easily. But
this year was a 35-28 win. It was not like last year where it was a good one-sided blowout.
Okay, yeah, it must have been last year. I knew they blew them out one year, so it must have been last year.
Yeah, last year was a runaway in over in Hawaii. It was just really a one-sided affair. That's when we took notice of Vanderbilt, that hey, they might have had some talent at least to turn the corner a degree, but they didn't. No. So they lost on the road last week at UNLV. They lost the game at Wake Forest, which you can kind of understand that's kind of a tough. They're kind of evenly matched with that, but still, if you're trying to make a bowl game, if you're trying to get to 6, when you're a team like them in the SEC, you got Georgia, Florida, you got all these other teams coming up.
Yeah,
it can be tough.
They needed to beat UNLV.
Yes, exactly. So, and looking at this, folks, we're going to look here real quick in the conference. As you see in the East, there's a 3-way tie for Georgia, Kentucky, Florida, with 1-0 in the conference. In the East, anything of note, South Carolina's 1-1 right in the middle, but Volunteers are 0-1. Big week, some big games we're about to talk about in a couple of minutes. LSU is still on top. Alabama and A&M have only played a game each. Of course, the bottom, the battle for the middle to bottom. Mississippi State, Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Auburn. So it's about what we expected on the west side of the bracket. The east side, a little surprised with Tennessee losing that early season game to Florida, but still a lot more, 7-8 more weeks, depending on how many games have been played, to go. So it's an interesting year. Any thoughts that you have on the SEC season to date so far?
No, not really. Just that, Florida beating Tennessee was a little surprising, but it was at home. but yeah, not too much else. Alabama and Georgia are still really, really good, but I don't think they're as
Mhm.
dominant as they have been some years. And I think the transfer portal could be a factor with that in the sense that now if you're not starting somewhere and you want to go somewhere else to start, you
Right.
can just immediately transfer. So
Mhm.
I think, Alabama and Georgia's their best 44 players or their best 22 players are probably, better than anybody else's. But that second 22 is probably not as good as it was 5 or 6 years ago.
Right. Right. And that's the changing landscape of college football between that and like we talked about conference realignment. So and yeah, you pointed at the home field with Florida. That's one probably the main reason I picked Florida over Tennessee that week, because when you get a rivalry game, you can never underestimate that the home field advantage. And also in Florida's Tennessee's case, it was in Tennessee's head. They had not won in 20 years. This marked 20 years now. 10 games in a row that Florida has won in the swamp. And hey, Jess, good to see you. Yeah, we're getting a raid on the Twitch side, folks.
Cool.
Hey, Jeff. Good to see you, Jeff, and all the Raiders. Last Command Jeff, hey, good to see you. And Rolling Chairs is here. Like Fury Twitch is here. Of course, Jess, one of our mods, is here. Great to see you. Party of 9. Yeah, wow. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. Hey, if you're not following, follow already. But hey, stay with us for some football, guys. We'll make it fun. We'll find a way to make it fun. I got a guy that we can talk 24 hours of football with. So that's always a good sign.
Yep.
So good to see you here. And we're going to look at the national standings real quick, national rankings. And just say hi to all you guys on the Twitch side. And if you have Twitch, also make sure you follow us over there too. So, all right. Well, after this week, we got the national rankings here. Let me see. Uh, with the game, we'll take a look at here. No surprise at the top. Pretty much everything's still the same. Georgia, Michigan, Texas, and Ohio State, Florida State in the top 5. Uh, really, there's really not much here, not much movement. I don't really think. At USC, though, dropped 3, even though, they struggled a little bit on the road at Arizona State. The Beavers dropped 5, but they lost. Ole Miss lost, but they lost. So they had 5. No, Lisa, no, I did not say we're doing it. I said he and I could probably talk football for 24 hours, uh, but yeah, Tennessee and Florida are now about down the bottom. Missouri jumps in the top 25 and rounded out by new entries by Kansas and Fresno State. Any thoughts on the AP top 25 nationally or conference wise?
No, just interesting to see Duke and Kansas in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Duke's up to 17. Kansas at 24. Yeah, I mean, they're really happy in Kansas now. While JT Kirk, he's still waiting for Michigan to play anyone.
They didn't even
And
need their coach the first 3 games.
exactly.
By
Yeah,
the way,
exactly.
it is interesting to see Washington State and Oregon State both ranked 2 teams that have been left at the altar.
See, honestly, the Pac 12 ought to say, screw all of you jerks. The rest of you guys, y'all chose to leave. This year's Pac 12 championship will be between Washington State and Oregon State.
Yeah, Washington State beat them Saturday.
Yeah, I know it was a good matchup. It'd make for a good conference championship game.
Yep.
So I mean, why not? The league's going to go to hell anyway. Basically, I mean, even if you bring up the Mountain West teams, you're not going to have schools of the kind of power that can demand the money from a national contract, or even a regional contract. Because of all the conferences with the TV deals, the Pac-12 has always been the shakiest, and always the one that I've seen questioned the most in terms of the benefits for the schools. So, oh hey, there you go, small time.
Yep.
Beat from O's
War
here.
Eagle. Yep.
There you go. All right, and he's Buddy's right. Fresno State has been solid. So, all right, you guys, I love it. The Auburn 11 here tonight. All right, and oh yes, yeah, you got Culver's too. So we got 15 people here for football. Love you guys. So we're gonna have some fun, but don't. It's not just all football. We're about to talk some personal stories here and share some really of the good moments of college football. We'll take a quick look at the coaches poll. Again, very similar results. Georgia almost unanimous and as a top the number 1 team. Alabama, LSU, very, very. The other SEC teams now have 7 in the top 25 in both polls. they're positioned generally in about the same areas in both polls. Any other Missouri, Florida now debut in the coaches poll. Kansas State are in the coaches poll. Any quick thoughts on this poll?
No, not really.
All right. Well, that's cool. That makes it easy. Ole Miss and the Beavers both dropped 4 and 6 spots. Notre Dame. It's kind of hard. Notre Dame dropping 4 spots, losing, even though they lost at home, to lose to Ohio State on the last play of the game. Basically,
Yeah, that was tough with 10 players on the field.
That's the part I did not. Like I said,
Yeah.
I was out for dinner. I did not know that.
Their defense had 10 players. The last 2 plays, they had 10 players.
Wow. Ouch. Oh, coaching. Tell you what.
Yep.
It's
it'll burn you.
It'll burn you. It will burn you. So, all right. Now we got to have a little food talk. Lisa's talking about the turtle sundae on top of a burger and fries. Yes. All right. And JT, see, you can tell JT Kirk is a Michigan State Sparty guy. Nobody's until November 11th. So, and then Buddy said what you said, 10 players on last place who plays. All right.
Yeah, Michigan has a 2-game season.
Yeah. It's Penn State and Ohio State.
Yep.
And then that depends. It depends if Penn State's any good, though.
True.
Because if Penn State's down, then, of course, James Franklin is still up there. James Franklin's still a coach at Penn State, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
He was a former Vanderbilt coach who actually had Vanderbilt respectable for many years.
The best Vanderbilt coach that I can remember.
Since, the guy from the 70s, 80s, George McIntyre.
Yeah.
That goes way back, folks. Way back. So,
all
right.
Mac Brown, his brother, Watson Brown.
Oh, yes.
Was the head coach of Vanderbilt when he was 30.
Wow. I remember him at Tulane, too. Yeah. Jeez.
Yep.
God, now you're talking my days before you were born. Hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yep.
Well, speaking of that and stuff, let's see, when we got a lot of people here with us, let's talk some of the stuff that goes beyond the stats, the games and stuff. But like I tell people, we do more than just talk the footballs, the X's and O's and stuff here. The human interest stuff to kind of tell everybody what makes football special to us, what makes football great. How did you get into football? What is especially college football? I kind of leave it open. Sometimes people prefer before we get there, it's Alabama is now represented. We are all for representation on this channel. Hell, OC Dobbins coming in with the Tide. But what got you into football, specifically college football and Auburn?
I guess my college football story would go back to my dad had an older brother that went to Auburn, and his freshman year was 1957, the year that Auburn won a national championship. So my dad became an Auburn fan because of his older brother. Mm-hmm. So, and then I became an Auburn fan because of my dad. So I guess it goes back that far. But that, and just I think being in the Southeast, being in the state of Alabama, it's just college football is so intense that I just kind of absorbed it through osmosis. And first memory of going to a college game, I went, and I don't remember what year it was. It would have been late 80s. Auburn played Florida State in the Sugar Bowl. And I remember going to New Orleans, going to that game. And I remember Deion Sanders had a key interception at the end of the game to seal it for the Noles. But that was the first memory. The thing that I remember as far as the games, probably the most unique experience that I can recall was in 1993. I was sitting, I got to sit in a skybox and was sitting in the skybox that was right next to Pat Dye as he watched the first game that he had not coached as an Auburn coach. So I as a 11-year-old me, got to observe Pat Dye watching his first Auburn football game and not on the sidelines. So that's my most unique thing.
Well, one of my memories with Auburn, like we were talking about, was that I consider Auburn more of a rival than LSU ever was. I did have a memory. My dad and my uncle went to a game in the 70s down at Old Florida Field the old ivy covered walls, and you just walk down into the end zone.
Yep.
It was, and I remember seeing LSU play there, but just growing up over the years, it was always those Auburn games that really held interest for me when they played each other, more so than LSU. I mean, I really never had much, I guess, respect for LSU or, oh, Snortopupus is crashing, by the way. Hey, Snortopupus, we will have fun. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming in and spending some time with us tonight. Um, but yeah, I like I told you, I have some memories where, the one game of the Terry Bowden was the coach.
Yep.
There was the 1 year Florida was 1985. Florida was undefeated, beat Auburn, yay! And then goes the next week and loses to Georgia 24-3. It's like, great, thank you. But
Yeah.
it was such a huge win at Auburn on the Plains. And then in 1986, because that's what I was telling. 1986, I got straight A's 1 year in high school. My dad said, "You get straight A's, I'll get you Gator season tickets." I did that in 1985. It was the weakest. I mean, my dad honored his word. It was like, boy, that was an easy one, but I did it still. So he got season tickets. Well, I wish my dad had taken me to this game, but he had my brother-in-law take me to most of the games. But Florida was at struggling. They were 3-4 entering the game. They were hosting fifth-ranked Auburn coming in, and just it was like, great. We're going to sit here. We're going to watch this game, and um, you just it just you're there. You're cheering for your team and stuff like that. Bell was the Gator starter. He did not start the game because he had a knee injury earlier in the season. So you had a backup quarterback, and they put him in like in the fourth quarter. He rallies, get a score, then he gets the last drive, and the touchdown. I don't remember exactly the touchdown that was scored to pull them within one was right into our corner of the end zone because we were about 10 rows up, right at the corner where the opposing teams come into the stands. And it was like right there, right in front of us. And then the 2-point conversion that he ran and scored happened very close in front of us too. And to, get memories of that game. And then Auburn had a long field goal attempt that fell short. So, I got Auburn's. Do you have any memories with Florida, or are there any
Yeah.
particular rivals that you have again, other than Alabama, maybe?
Right. I was at the kick six game, but
Oh yeah,
yeah.
well, go ahead.
But as far as Auburn, Florida, I got several memories. So 1994, I go over to a friend's house. He's a Florida fan, and Auburn won in dramatic fashion in that game. Um,
Yep,
that was a game where Spurrier kept swapping Terry Dean and Danny Warfel.
yep, yep.
Um, 97, I got to go to that game when I was in high school at Auburn. Florida won. I remember Javon Curse being a freak, which was his nickname,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Oh yeah.
just athletically. Um, 99, I went to that game. Florida won. 2001, that was the first time I got to see Florida, as a student at Auburn. And
Mhm.
Florida comes in number one in the nation. Auburn's unranked, a 3-touchdown underdog, and Auburn wins with a late field goal.
Yep.
Um, and so that was a big memory for me. I remember there were some Auburn fans that tried to rush the field, and they unleashed the German shepherds on them, and that stopped them. I wish schools would bring that back. I think all this running on the field stuff is a bit much. Um, but
Okay.
uh, yeah, those are probably my biggest memories as far as Auburn, Florida go.
Oh, good, good. See, it's funny. I like the storm the field games, but I got you. It shouldn't be to the point where you know, it shouldn't be just like Missouri kicked the 62-yard field goal to beat Kansas State. Yeah,
Right.
Kansas State's ranked. Why rush the field in a game like that? But like when Tennessee beat Alabama after such a long drought,
Yeah.
I could
I
see
mean,
them in
I
Knoxville
get it.
doing that.
I
Yeah.
just not a fan.
No, I got you. I all understands. Now, I do have to ask you this question. There's two one things with Auburn history. One, Bo Nix. I cannot believe he hooked on at Oregon. He looked so much better as a quarterback at Oregon than he did at Auburn. At
Yeah,
least to me. Do you agree? Or
he looked pretty good his freshman year at Auburn, and then I
yeah,
just felt like he didn't progress. And I think Oregon was just a better spot for him. I think when Malzahn got let go and they brought in Brian Harsin,
mm-hmm.
Nick stayed, 1 year for that, and I think he saw that Auburn wasn't going to go anywhere under Harsin, and he smartly got out of Dodge.
Yeah. I mean, his numbers. I mean, his passing numbers have floored me because yeah, after that first year, it was like you look for him and like, okay, cool, we got this guy. It just. But then again, talent around him, coaching, all that other stuff, comes into play. It really does. So, all right, the other question I've got, because I don't know if you were with us last week with B from O here. I hope B from O's still lurking out there. B from O mentioned the kick six game, and I'm going to let you describe it to everybody. Okay, B from O was working a concession stand underneath the stadium.
Huh.
So we got to hear his perspective of how it sounded like an earthquake, to hear from that in the environment. Tell
Yeah.
us about that leading up to it, the environment in the last couple minutes of the game, that drive, what the mood in the stadium with the fans were around. It looked like, of course, Bama was going to go get a field goal to win. Again at the end, yeah, he's here. So yes, we get the other side of the story from. Just lay the framework for some people out there, because folks, this is truly one of the greatest moments in sports anywhere that I've seen. That I could only imagine how much better it was there. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Alabama had multiple opportunities to win the game. I think it was fourth quarter. I think they had the lead and the ball, and they were going to have first and goal, and play got called back for a holding um, penalty, and they end up, missing the field goal, or the field goal was blocked, or what have you. And that wasn't, I want to say, in the fourth quarter. So Auburn was living dangerously. Auburn had to score late to take the lead. Alabama gets the ball back. I think under a minute left, and they were able to get just outside of field goal range with 1 second left. My personal opinion, I thought that the referees gave them a second that they shouldn't have given them, but in
Mm-hmm.
retrospect, it worked out for Auburn. Um, and so they try to kick a long field goal. Auburn has a man deep in the end zone. He catches it in the back of the end zone, runs it out, runs down the Alabama sideline, comes within half an inch of stepping out of bounds, cuts it back, and takes it into the end zone. Um, I was watching the game. Yeah, I did get to go to that game. I don't go to many games, but I did happen to be at that one, and um, it was kind of surreal because a lot of the fans didn't know what was going on, so a lot of
Yeah,
them didn't really.
because had you ever seen that in a game before where they put a return man back by the goalpost?
Yeah, I had seen it, but it's not a common thing. I'd only seen it, I'd
It's
only seen
very
it run for a
uncommon. Yeah.
touchdown. I think I saw it maybe one NFL game before that, maybe one college game before that.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty rare. Um,
Well, let me explain real quick, because, folks, what happens is normally, like when you kick on fourth down, it's a punt. You just drop kick it, and the return guy can get it. So the same thing. It's just a place kick is a chance to kick a ball for 3 points. That's why you stick the receiver back there, because it's still a kick like a punt is. So it's a fair chance to return. So okay, yeah, go ahead.
but yeah, I was thinking that there was a lot of Alabama guys in front of him. Actually yelled out, "Get down," because I was worried about him fumbling it. Because I thought there's no way he's going to be able to score on this play. I was worried about a fumble and Alabama picking up and and scoring.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wrong, and it was kind of a surreal moment. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it was definitely a unique moment, and it was highlighted by the fact that Alabama had won the national championship the previous 2 years. Uh, Actually, 3 out of 4 years before that. So
Yep.
they were, well into their dynasty at that point. So it was interesting for sure.
Well, that I could imagine. I mean, you're sitting there. Part of it has to be like, what did I just see? because it is such an odd play. It was such an
Yeah,
odd, you do like, what did I just see? And like you mentioned, surreal is probably a really, really good word. But unlike a punt where you've got people in positions and lanes and stuff like that, that's a danger of the really, really long field goals because you got usually your chunkier guys for blocking. The
yep,
beef is in their slower guys to try to get max protect on the kicker to keep the rushers back so they can make a kick. A longer field goal, because I believe this was over 50 yards, a
yeah,
longer kick, you're kicking it flatter. You're not punching it higher over the line so that you can get the distance. And so uh, that low drive and then the bigger guys, you get a fast return back there. There's no pursuit lanes on the kicking team. It's just slower guys. It's a recipe for disaster, I guess.
with that said, as much as I enjoyed that game, I would much rather
Yeah.
I would what Alabama has done in that series
Hmm.
since 2008 to Auburn with Saban, in terms of how many games they've won.
Hmm.
I would much rather have the series lead to that time period than that one game. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, it was a great play.
Absolutely. So, folks, hey, well, that's some of the great memories from the great small town republic. Very common theme of some of our guests from Alabama and everything, like in Florida and everywhere else. Down south, it's a tradition. It becomes in your blood. Starts from early on and stays with you forever. So, right. Well, hey, now we're going to go into the part with looking at this week's games, real quick. Actually, we can take some time with them since we still have some time. Got the great small town republic with me here. So let's look at the menu of games this week. We've got we can talk a little bit about these games. Hold off the pick till the last part. But any thoughts on some of these games as we talk about them? Arkansas versus Texas A&M is coming up this weekend. Uh, an annual battle between two Western schools.
Yep,
Um, any
they're
thoughts with this one up first?
they're in Arlington, so
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be a good matchup. These teams, it seems like most years, if I remember correctly, it seems like most years A&M gets the better of them, but
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
it'll be a I
See,
think
this
it'll
is
be a
what,
good game.
like, yeah, like I said earlier, when I did a recap last year and a preview this season, is Arkansas, like Arkansas. I'm telling you, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. They were like all of them were 0-4 against their main rivals, against the teams they needed to beat. And Arkansas really likes to lose to Texas A&M, even when they should win. It's one of those teams that pigs always have trouble with. So, and you can't move up in the division unless you start beating the teams uh, like Texas A&M or Alabama or LSU. So, yep.
Yeah,
Um, it will be interesting now that to see how Texas A&M performs with Max Johnson now as this full-time starter. Um, it's his job now, probably for the rest of the season, barring injury or if there's significant improvement behind him. Um, and that defense for Texas A&M, will it show up like it did against Auburn, or will it be the defense that showed up against Miami? Arkansas's got some dynamic playmakers, both at wide receiver position and the running back. So it'll be a better. I think it'll be truly a better test for the A&M defense this week than Auburn was.
I agree.
Well, what leads us to the game of the week for you, and I will root you on as best as I can. But number one, Georgia goes into the Plains at Auburn this week. The Georgia Bulldogs are still undefeated, uh, ranked number one going into the Tigers. War Eagle. Let me ask you. There's one other question I have here, and maybe you can answer it. Because I know that it's Auburn Tigers. They're also War Eagle, but at least in the old days, they were called the Plainsmen.
Yeah, so
Do you know what's the history of the Plainsmen? It's like a team that has three different nicknames.
the Plainsman is basically just you know, Auburn got the town is named Auburn, and that's after a poem that was referred to as the loveliest village on the plains or on the plain, one or the other. But so that's where the whole Plainsman thing came from.
Mhm.
And there's a group of college students, and they wear it's guys. They wear orange jackets, and I believe they're the Plainsmen. Um, and yet there also are some women I think that typically wear like navy blue uh, dresses. I think they're kind of the female equivalent of the Plainsmen. I forget their name. I don't know if they're I don't know if they're what their name is, but um, so that's just
Mhm.
that's not really considered a mascot or anything. The tiger mascot, I believe that maybe came from John Heisman. I think John Heisman may have gone from like Princeton to Auburn to Clemson, and he took the whole like orange and tiger stuff with him, to all three schools. I think that's where that came from. Um, and then the eagle, the the legend behind that is that there was an at the Auburn Georgia game, the first uh, game ever played in the Deep South. It's been a continuous rivalry. This would have been 1892. Was that there was a Civil War veteran that had found an eagle hatchling on the Civil War battlefield, in 1865 or whenever, and that he brought that eagle as a very old bird to the game, and that it started flying around the field, and that he yelled "War Eagle," or people were yelling "War Eagle" because it came from the Civil War. Um, so that's the legend behind that. Now that may all be made up. Somebody in 1950 may have made all that up. But anyway, that's the legend. So War Eagle's the battle cry. Tigers
Yeah.
are the mascot.
We
Um,
talked about that. Sometimes history takes a life of its own. Sometimes with some of the Civil War battlefield tours and stuff,
yeah,
and some of the things that get started, it happens. Well, honestly, actually, which is interesting, Georgia leads the series 63 games to 56 with 8 ties. The current streak is a Georgia 6-game winning streak from 2017 to 2022. Uh, Georgia's largest margin of victory in this was in 1946, 41 to nothing. Their longest win streak in the series has been 9 games, way back in 1923 to 1931. Auburn's largest margin of victory is 44 to nothing in the good old year of 1900.
huh,
Auburn's
yeah.
longest winning
Georgia
streak.
has really gotten the better of Auburn under Mark Richt and especially under Kirby Smart.
Exactly. 6 games for Auburn back in the 50s. Let's see the full games list using a site called Winspedia. And as you said, the first game took place February 20th, played in February 20th in 1892. They played in Atlanta, Georgia. And
Yep.
and Auburn won 10-0. So, hey, there you go. There's some of these histories. Now we're getting into conference season with some of these teams. There is some really long history between some of these teams, which, again, another topic for another day, the effects of continued expansion at real, these conferences. And if you're limiting to 8 conference games, how you protect some of these national rivalries, you know.
Yeah, you're definitely going to lose some. There's no way
Yeah.
around it. Oklahoma State, they're not going to keep that going. Um, I'm sure
Yeah.
Washington State, Oregon State, uh, those would be non-conference if they played those.
If because that's the whole thing. Texas A&M, Texas was not a guaranteed series after
Mm-hmm.
A&M left. So,
Yep.
and I know there was some talk about the legislature then doing something to require it, but it never went anywhere. But yeah, it's this is an old game. And what's interesting is last year I had I got a friend of mine on Gen X, and he's like I said, everybody's younger than me and all, which was interesting because he's a Georgia fan. And I brought him on thinking, okay, Florida, Georgia, we're going to talk Florida, Georgia. But when I asked him who he thought his greatest rival was, it was Auburn,
Hmm.
which took me
Yeah.
really off. I think part of it had to do with Florida was so dominating. It was almost like a why bother or whatever. But
Right.
at that time, but the 90s and 2000s, it was Auburn had more of it. He had more of a thing with Auburn than he did Florida. So
Weirdly, I think Georgia Tech is third at best for Georgia in terms of when they think of their rivals, even though it's the
Exactly.
in-state rival.
Exactly. And that's rare to have a private school, a public school rivalry too,
Yeah.
So,
So I
and
guess Stanford Cal would be
yeah,
one. There's not many though.
there's not many. JT Kirk loves to come in. He's showing his Sparty nature here. They are almost as many nicknames as Notre Dame has jersey colors. Everything's back to Notre Dame with JT Kirk. Notre Dame or Michigan. So, hey, oh my goodness, folks. Well, we got 14 people still with us. Small Town Republic. I appreciate it. Y'all make sure y'all smash that like button and sub if you haven't already. Appreciate y'all being here tonight and everything, and appreciate Small Town Republic as we're taking a look at this. Anything else about this Georgia Auburn game? And we looked at the behind the scenes stats on the field. It looks kind of bleak for Auburn. The good thing is you are at home. You do have the history of the well, of course, to get back at the trying to bite the one Auburn player, which is in restaurants up in Athens. But really with this game, I don't think Georgia has the running game that it used to have or has been known for. I think the jury's still out on Carson Beck. Can he run and throw? Or, what happens when he goes on the road? This will be the first road test that he's got. And even though it's an undermanned Auburn team, there's not a lot of offense. At least it's at home. I mean, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, Auburn's defense may keep it interesting, but offensively, that they just don't have the firepower. I don't think to make this a good game, but I could be wrong.
A few turnovers. This could be a game. Special teams and turnovers could help. If Georgia commits a penalties on the minus side of the field, get a special team return, block punt, a muff punt, deep in your own territory. But it could get ugly very quickly. But yeah, that's why they play the game, though.
That is true.
Exactly. Well, do you have any other thoughts you wanted to say about this game before we move on?
No, just interested to see what Auburn does at quarterback.
Well, since you brought that up, what about Robbie Alford? I think is that name. Ashford, who was a part-time starter last year. He took over midway through the season last year. I know he's not a great thrower, but still, at what point do you just go, because of the problems the line had last week against Texas A&M, what point do you just decide to go with him if you're going to do like a RPO type offense?
Yeah, apparently they didn't run one RPO last week, and that's sort of mystifying.
Which is, you look at the numbers again the previous week against Cannon Fodder and I mean, Thorpe was 200 yards passing, 100 something yards running.
Yeah, he had over 400 total yards. But yeah, there's a little bit of a difference between Samford and Texas A&M.
I know. Well, at least call the same plays.
That's true. That's true. There were some plays against Samford where he looked bad too, though. But yeah, I don't know. I think you'll see a mixture of all three quarterbacks again, unfortunately.
Like a lot of people say, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none.
Yep.
Although Spurrier proved that it could work on a short-term basis. So, but oh man, but you got to have some consistency at the quarterback position. So, all right. Well, that's Georgia Auburn. If you think of anything, let's just throw it out there. But hey, my game of the week, Florida at Kentucky. The Gators go on the road to the Bluegrass State. Folks, what are your early thoughts on this game?
So, I think it'll be a close game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be fairly low scoring. I think it could be one of those where it comes down to the very last play. But I won't. I guess I won't reveal my winner yet.
Right.
But yeah, I think it'll be an intense, low scoring, close game.
This has actually been a game, as a Florida snob, I'm like, these guys aren't worth our cleats, for so long. Yep. It's like, look down at them because, them and Vanderpelt, and, you should not be losing to these teams, because period. And of course, they've been losing to them in the last few years. Yeah, it's just like, so of course that hits your ego with your team. Overall, the Gators lead this series 53-20. No ties in this series. That's a rarity.
Yep.
The largest margin of victory in this series, the University of Florida's beaten Kentucky 73-7 back in 1994. Steve Spurrier, yes. The longest win streak was 1987 to 2017. What is odd about that? That means Kentucky before 2017, the last time Kentucky had beaten Florida was 1986. I remember that day vividly. It was a bad year for the Gators. I went and I did, I had a chess tournament, and I think that game was on the road, though. That game was on the road because it wasn't a home game. But I found out Florida lost to Kentucky that day. I was like, ugh. So I'm glad I was playing chess that day. So there's always a story attached with anything I've got these days, so that's why I know I'm old too. Largest margin of victory for Kentucky, 52-0. Back in the great year of 1917, the longest streak that Kentucky has had in the series was from 1948 to 1951, 4 games in a row. The current streak, though, is Kentucky has won the last 2 games.
Yep.
Which has been a long time. The last time Kentucky won back-to-back games was in the 76-77 seasons. God, those are some bad Gator teams back then. And of course,
And
the
some good
Kentucky.
Kentucky teams back then in the
Oh yeah.
70s. Yep.
Well, of course, 1979 was an obvious one. Florida was 0-10-1 that year. The only thing that they tied was Georgia Tech early in the season, and that was when Kentucky won 31-3. But the first game was played November 29th, 1917, and Kentucky won that game 52-0. So, like we said, we're getting in conference season. These were not necessarily conference rivals back then because they did not play from 1917 to until 1926. So, and then the series started picking up a couple times. It picked up a little bit in the 30s, a couple times late 40s. Then it started picking up in force in the 50s. Ever since probably 1948, it's been a mostly on series between these two schools. So, still an old, just an old history there. So, 1776 season. Yeah. All right. JT says supposed to be 80s and sunny on Saturday. Favors together weather-wise. Probably so. Probably so. Honestly, with this game here, it gets back to quarterback. Quarterback and coaching. I don't trust Billy Napier. I still don't trust him. I look at that Tennessee game. Yay, great! It was one quarter. Well, the first half they did first quarter they just missed a field goal and they did good, but really it's like he shut the offense down. And since he shut the offense down, they struggle against Charlotte. I know you can't put a lot of stock in that, but this is also a team the last couple times up in Kentucky has really struggled on the road. Kentucky's gotten much better with quarterback play with Devin Leary, NC State transfer. Just Florida's defense looked very respectable. I know the Tennessee fans were commenting on it, but again, will Graham Mertz turn the ball over? Will he throw the ball down the field? Can Florida run block? Can Florida open holes for Etienne and Johnson? Whereas my concern is more the Gators showing up and the coaching. Will they commit false starts? Will they be disciplined? Will the coach insist on a game plan that early on won't work, but he's going to keep doing the same thing till it's too late? And it also can Kentucky get off to a hot start. I mean, which they can at home.
Yeah. It'll be it might be the closest game all week.
Okay, well, I'm glad. So this is why I love having Smart Time for Republic. Backside chats and DMs before they're all there to see it. He's like, you guys, don't Napier, all this stuff. But I'm like, I have relatives who are be appreciating you because they'd love to hear you talk because they don't like hearing me talk.
Yeah, and Napier's got the he's got the Saban training, so there's that factor as well.
I just there's been there have been too many sloppy game mistakes bad clock management that should not happen a year and a half into the second year.
Now,
The first year was bad enough with some of the other stuff, especially clock management. At the end of halves, it was really bad. Go ahead.
I don't know if this is true or not, but I did hear that whenever Mississippi State hired Mike Leach, that they originally offered Billy Napier when he was at Louisiana Lafayette, and that he turned down the Mississippi State job.
Hmm.
What would have been interesting is if he'd have taken the Mississippi State job, done good there for a year or two, and then gotten the Florida job from there. Basically,
Yeah.
Florida taking 2 Mississippi State coaches.
Well, because see, I think the other thing is too. I think that there are games who's looked at it and he looks out of his league. He doesn't look like he's ready for the SEC. Now that's
Yeah.
that's a subjective statement and things, but one of the biggest things is the daggum game preparation. The not just the false starts, but the clock management. You don't know what you're going to do with the ball, and then you waste time. And then this year against Utah, you didn't have enough coaches out there to pay attention that number 3 ran out without changing his number.
Yeah.
Out there. I mean, there's
Details.
just too much of that type of stuff. Details, yeah. You know, especially for somebody from a Saban tradition, it's like you should. He's not a first-year coach. He's coached enough before, and maybe a different level, different program, but still, you're just don't expect those kind of mistakes. But hey, so you usually expect a good battle, low scoring, or close down to the wire. Me, I don't know what to expect. I will say go Gators. Period. Could be a fun game. I just depends on the Gator offense. I really believe this game depends on Florida. If Florida can come up, score points, it could be a good game. Otherwise, it could be. I think it could be ugly. I think if Florida goes up, can't move the ball, can't run, can't score touchdowns, then Kentucky might be able to wear that defense down. They do have some firepower on offense between Barry and Brown and Ray Davis at the back and wide receiver position and quarterback. So,
Yep. And a good play caller. Liam Cohen, he was there a couple years ago when they were pretty good on offense, and then he went to the Rams, and now he's back. So,
oh yeah,
I think he's a pretty good coach.
It's not your Kentucky offense from the last 2 years. Yeah, where they couldn't even throw the ball at times. So
Yeah, exactly.
then their quarterback gets chosen at the top of the second round, and like, why? But that's another story. All right, so we'll move on to LSU at Ole Miss. This should be a good game. It should have been a good game, but honestly, Ole Miss, it's just newspaper fodder, cat litter fodder.
Well,
Really.
Ole Miss has had some internal issues. They kicked a tight end off the team this week.
Yes, I
They've
saw
got a
that.
defensive lineman that's suing them.
Oh,
It's
didn't know
it's no
about that
longer on the
part, but
team.
yeah.
I think they may have dismissed another player. There's a little bit of turmoil there. Kiffin needs this win to just to earn that contract extension.
Mm-hmm.
But
He's too busy looking at other places for contracts, So
right. Yeah, it'll be a tough game for Ole Miss to win because LSU, I think they realized with that Florida State loss that may have been their mulligan. They may not if they lose to Ole Miss, that may put them in danger. That really puts them in danger for the CFP.
Yeah.
Down the road.
Yeah, I like it. I think this on paper could have been a good matchup. It really could have been a really good matchup. But looking at Ole Miss, I mean, yeah, they'll be at home at least. That's the one thing versus last week. At least they're at home, so home field advantage could say something. But then I've been burned by them one too many times. It's like Arkansas. It's like, okay, LSU, LSU struggled a little bit. Ole Miss has had a good year. Maybe ignore the Alabama, but Lane Kitten's teams have just had a history of just not showing up for these games, repeatedly. So,
yep.
So
anyway. We'll find out how good of a coach Kiffin is this week, having to play Alabama and LSU back to back.
Yeah.
The one good thing for Ole Miss is that LSU also had to play a full 60 minutes this past Saturday.
Well, that's true. That's true. That kind of gives them a challenge and for that. So, um, hold on a second. Give me 1 second. Um, yeah, I just I this I want to take Ole Miss type thing, and I'm not going to say the pick right now, but even for it's almost like when you've been burned by a team too many times, you just don't even care about them.
Yeah.
I've seen them play exciting football against weak Sisters of the Poor and some other games, but every time they get in a game against a better team, better competition, they fall flat, and it's not falling flat in a good way. It's like they just collapse.
One
They only
thing,
lost 24-10 against Alabama, but they looked just they didn't even look like they were in the game.
yeah, one thing that I can't figure out is their backup quarterback is he played for um, Oklahoma State. He started I think the last maybe 3 years there. I forget his name. I think his last name is maybe Sanders, but he transferred to Ole Miss to be a backup. And I don't know if he thought he was going to come in there and beat Jackson Dart out for the job or what, but I really question a senior transfer when you're coming in, behind an incumbent.
Yeah,
But
because I will say, in spite of the criticism for Kiffin, Jackson Dart is a solid starter. I mean, when you look at his
yeah,
numbers, they're impeccable. I mean, he can run, he can pass. He doesn't generally turn the ball over that much. Very solid quarterback, very dynamic. Just those big games they don't perform. But like you said, he's established. It's not like you'd go. It would make a case for a guy like that going to Gainesville. You got a
yep,
highly unsettled quarterback situation, or even Auburn. Why not go there?
hmm
And you might have a chance to win the job. Actually, have a chance to win the job. So I just look. I don't know. I've been burned by Ole Miss too much. This should be a good, fun matchup, but it would have been so much better had Ole Miss beaten Alabama to actually have a game that mattered between LSU and Ole Miss. Because here we go again. I'm ready. The expectation is LSU is just going to roll in there and beat Ole Miss as usual.
well,
That we really have a two-team West. It's LSU and Alabama.
and with Alabama beating Ole Miss, I don't see Alabama losing two conference games. So
Yeah,
Ole Miss may already be, out of luck, um, unless there's like a three-way tie or something.
right.
Although
Well,
Alabama has to play LSU and Tennessee, so they could lose those two games.
that's very possible. It gets down to the quarterback, and
But
also
yeah,
Alabama though gets Tennessee at home this year, so that's a little bit different. So
yep,
no, wait, no, wait. I think well, yeah, I think they get them at home. I had to look back,
yeah,
but I believe they're at Tuscaloosa because they get Georgia at home this year. So yeah, because Tennessee beat Alabama. Yeah, it was so funny the story in the field game where they went down not only singing Rocky Top, but they took the goalpost, marched them out of the stadium, and threw them in the Tennessee River.
yeah, yep,
Gotta love Knoxville. But hey, they got the great sports radio there, I will tell you. All right, well, we kicked LSU. Ole Miss around. Didn't say much about LSU, but it was a hell of a lot to say bad about Ole Miss. Who knows? Maybe they'll surprise us. Which will take us to the next game of the week: Alabama at Mississippi State. Oh, actually, wait a second. Well, this series, LSU has won 65. Ole Miss has won 41. They have had 4 ties. There's not really a streak. This series dates back to dates back to 1894
yeah,
when Ole Miss won this game 26-6 in 1894. It was played in Baton Rouge of all places. Yeah, well, I gotta figure LSU got the whole home game. I've seen Atlanta. I mean, all these different other
yeah.
schools have games elsewhere.
I think there was a lot of neutral site games back when football first got started. That may part of that may have been like where do the trains run, that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of
Very
rail
possible.
travel there early on.
LSU's largest margin of victory in series of 52-3, winning in 2011, winning 8 in a row from 1928 to 1937. Largest margin of victory for Ole Miss is 37-3 in 1963, and had a 6-game winning streak in the 50s. So, still, it's one that's been more heavily dominated by LSU in recent years. looking at it in the last, let's say, 20 years. So, oh, all right. Well, let's see. With that, we got Alabama at Mississippi State. Nick Saban goes on the road to Cowbell Central, Starkville, Mississippi. Take your cowbells if you're there. They even let them bring them on road games and bowl games. Everybody exempts the rules for the cowbells.
Yep.
But then again, it's really a team this week of this is a game actually before the season started. Mississippi State was a heavily dominated junior senior team. This is a game. My question was Jalen Milroe at quarterback for Bama. With Will Rogers returning, when I did my original look at forecast of the season, I had Mississippi State winning this game. But
I mean, I think they'll be competitive.
I've kind of changed. I've changed back from that because of the games where they don't know what they are. Are they a running team or are they a passing team? And then that game hosting LSU and just not even being in the game early. Alabama, will they stick with Jalen Milroe? Will they actually give him, an offense that he can run tailored to his strengths? So it's about, all these games come down to some question marks, which goes to the thing, could the SEC be down a little bit this year? Because all these teams have questions. Even Georgia has some significant questions this year.
I think the Pac-12 may be the best conference.
Wow. You heard it here, folks.
This year, and then they're gone. Yeah.
Yeah. All the years that they finally get good, and then they go out of business. So, hey. Any thoughts with this game between Bama and Mississippi State?
I think Alabama will just, like a python, just slowly squeeze the life out of them. I think you're going to see Alabama this year be like the Greg McElroy teams, in terms of just grinding out wins. I don't think it's going to be as flashy as the Tua and Mac Jones stuff, but yeah. So I think it'll be a grind, and I think they'll just the game will just slowly get away from Mississippi State as opposed to getting away from them quickly like it did against LSU. But
or maybe more like South Carolina where it's close for a while. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Dadman was a lot about where trains run. Yes, exactly. My ticket to ride game. Thank you. All right. Well, that's what we got for Alabama and Mississippi State. Next game up in Knoxville. I know the Tennessee fans are really, really excited about this one. They do not like South Carolina. I did not realize that Tennessee Volunteer fans hated South Carolina as much as they do. Because some earlier this week were asked a question: would you rather beat Florida, or like in this game, would they rather win in Gainesville and beat in Florida, or they want to beat South Carolina? And without hesitation, most say South Carolina. I'm like, wow, why? I mean, you would think you'd hate the team you can't beat, but it's kind of like what I said with somebody else in Georgia. It's like, I guess if you lose to them enough, then I guess it loses a rivalry. I don't know. It's strange.
It is kind of strange. There's been a lot of good South Carolina Tennessee games over the years. I'll say that much. That game last year, I did not see that coming. Where South Carolina, they put up a lot of points on Tennessee.
Oh yeah, I was actually last year I had a friend that came on a number of our shows, and we were actually watching that game together. Talking via StreamYard, and it was like we were both in shock. She was a Tennessee fan, and it's like, what happened? It was like you could not believe it. South Carolina could not be stopped. Tennessee could not stop them. It was just one of the most. You talk about surreal. That was a surreal game because Tennessee's floating along, dispatching people pretty good, and then they run into South Carolina, a team who only scored 6 points against the Florida Gators on the road. But their punter threw the only touchdown pass for South Carolina in that game on a fake punt. So, that was why that game was so stunning last year. People in Knoxville are pissed with this game. They definitely want revenge for what happened last year. So, but
yeah, because Tennessee was potentially going to get into the college football playoff without even winning their division last year.
Yeah, it was going to be one of those years like when Georgia got in, or Alabama's gotten in years
Yep.
before when that happens. But yeah, because they would have, because they were very good. They were winning. They were high in the polls, and they had strength of schedule over the Big 12 or Big 10 and all. But it
Yeah.
was like,
They would have gotten in over TCU.
yeah, agreed. But that was just, to watch that game was stunning. So the fans of Knoxville definitely want revenge this year. I bet it will be one of those that they will keep the offense going. They will not. If there's ever a run up the score game, this might be it because of what happened last year. It just. But then again, though last year wasn't South Carolina's fault either. Tennessee couldn't stop them. I was like,
Yeah.
were you supposed to take a knee in the third quarter?
No, I think South Carolina will show up and then some. I think they're going to give them a really good game.
Yep. So it'll be interesting. So, folks, really, I mean, look at these games. If you don't watch football, this is a week to try to watch SEC football. All of these games have the potential to have uh, uh, a lot of drama to them. Even Georgia and Auburn, don't write that off yet, because you still have to play the game. And Georgia did go on the road last year at Missouri and with trailing by 11 points with about 10 minutes left in the game and had to rally to win. So you never say never when you go on the road on the SEC. It can be dangerous. So, uh, yeah, so like I said, this South Carolina Tennessee game is a game I'm planning on watching. I hope nobody sent me something to do Saturday, because I'm going to tell everybody I can't do it. Because Saturdays, if you're an SEC and a football fan, this is a Saturday to stay to your TV from noon to midnight.
Yep.
Um,
Whenever
take
people schedule fall weddings down here, sometimes people get a little ornery.
Yeah, you dang straight. Don't schedule a damn, excuse me for the cussing if you don't mind, but don't schedule a damn wedding in a damn football season, please, on
Yeah.
Saturday. Schedule it on the NFL, fine, because the NFL season doesn't matter. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Every week is important in college football. Yeah, my sister got remarried on a friggin' Saturday years ago. So, of course, the missus of, let's tell the story. Me and I left her with the kids inside the house. I kept sneaking out. It was the Georgia Tennessee game. It was the one where we went back and forth, back and forth. You had two Hail Marys within the last minute of the game.
Uh-huh.
You had
Yeah.
Josh Dobbs for Tennessee and a Hail Mary. It just was crazy. And I left her in there with my family. Just it's just like, I'm sorry, I had to keep watching it. So hey,
Was that the game where Butch Jones dropped down on his knees? And was just all emotional. It may have been that. It was either.
it might have
Yeah, I think it
been,
was.
yeah,
Yeah.
because that was it. Uh, which game? A game specific? Specific? The only football game that I've seen on tonight on ESPN is Tulsa Temple, and they're at commercial. I can't see, but yeah, I don't mind. Which game do you want to update on?
That looks like the Lions are up on the Packers,
Oh yeah, let me see.
27-3 in the third quarter.
Whoa, no wonder JT Kirk was talking about the pack not looking their best. So let me see. Let me go over here real quick. Let's see. Let's see. I mean, are you talking about the college games, or are you talking about the NFL game? Because I don't mind doing it. So Lions scored 27 unanswered. Yeah, I tell you what. How about the dang Lions? Last year ending up with a winning record, win the last game of the year, and destroy Green Bay's playoff chances. I mean, I hope the Lions can do something there.
Yeah, they're
Jacksonville, Sam Houston. Okay, hold on a second. Yeah, hold on. Oh, Jacksonville State. Yeah, exactly. We can do that. We aim to serve here. We aim to make people happy. There are actually 3 games going on in college football tonight. Sam Houston is up on Jacksonville State 21-14 with 8.5 minutes left in the third quarter. At the end of the third quarter, Tulsa leads Temple in a battle of 2-2 teams, 31-18, and Western Kentucky leads Middle Tennessee 23-10 with 5 minutes left in the third quarter. So that is your college football action so far tonight. And thank you for asking. So, yeah. Hey, yeah, that's no problem. Hey, asking's free. I like saying stuff, taking little detours. Bears and Vikings 0-3. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is, I tell you, and we talked about small time. We talked about Vanderbilt. The year for them to make a bowl game, and then they dropped the Wake and the UNL, especially the UNLV game.
Yeah.
This would be like if the Lions don't beat the Bears, at least win 3 of those 4 games. Even if they split, you'd look at that as a failure because when your division opponents are down, you've got to win those games.
I mean, Missouri could easily be 5-0 Saturday.
Yeah, they could.
That's impressive.
I looked at the numbers for Missouri last year. Had they, they blew the loss. They blew the lead. Actually, let me grab this real quick. I got a second, but because I got something here that warrants attention. Said that we got the great Masters Maniac Mexico with us. Update us on Faki, the Boston Bone Crushers, and Dallas Damagers. They had to stop the game. They had to stop the game. Have you heard our discussions about Faki?
No.
It's a combination. Stunning the Brave is the president, and Masters is the promo guy of the league. It's a combination of football and hockey, and boarding is allowed. Well, they had to stop the game because the fight got out of control because Dallas boarded a guy into the board, broke the boards, so the field's unplayable. But the fights went into the crowds, and they had to stop the game. So
nice. Hockey is the name of it. Yeah,
hockey. Yes. No, we're not talking soccer. Come on. Well, wait. I guess Faki could have the soccer leagues, like the higher and lower leagues.
One other thing I wanted to mention real quick before we get too far past is Jacksonville State and Sam Houston State. That would have been a division or a FCS game last year, and now it's a FBS game. Both are in the
that's right.
Conference USA.
Moving up. Yep. See, that's the thing. Also, with these teams moving up different. I mean, all of it's changing. With these teams that used to be in the little conferences and in the Division II playoffs. Yeah, I'm trying to find my notes. I had some notes because what I looked at last year was with Missouri. When you looked at their schedules, they had so many close losses that if you like the choke in the fourth quarter against against Georgia, that you had the fumble against Auburn. Remember that game?
Well, not just the fumble against Auburn. They had a chip shot field goal to win it in regulation.
But yes, that one, and twice. When you looked at it, they could have won at least 4 more games. They could have had 8 or 9, possibly 10 wins. They lost so many close games.
Yeah, and against Auburn, you're right. The guy is running scot-free into the end zone to win the game for him in overtime, and I think I don't know if it got dislodged by Auburn or if he just fumbled on his own, but
he reached it out and lost control of the ball.
That's right. He lost control, and I mean, that was a brutal way to lose a game.
Yes, it truly was because he should have been. I mean, it's like he was almost in the end zone. It was so close. So now we get new things in our chats over here. We call this like the squirrel channel when we go in detours. So Saki is the next one. Instead of pucks and sticks, you kick the soccer ball into the hockey net. And there's Glocker. All right. Hey. All right. So
nice.
Oh my God. Austin. Where's our Austin people out there? Anyway, but hey. Well, now we teased Vanderbilt by talking about Missouri. Missouri's on the road at Vanderbilt 4-0 versus 2-3. The way I see this game, the way it should turn out, if the football gods ruled, Vanderbilt should actually win this game.
Yeah,
because Missouri is so so jinxed sometimes, even though they're coming in with great offensive numbers and they're undefeated. Vanderbilt's looking like old Vanderbilt. Missouri finds a way to really make football bad. So, how do you see this one ending up? Or at least, what are your thoughts about the game? And then we'll give our picks in just a second and wrap up.
I mean, I think Missouri, I think they'll play really well against Vandy. And, I mean, it's just crazy that Missouri could end up 5-0 without anybody really even knowing about them being 5-0.
Yeah, they really are. With a close win over Middle Tennessee also.
Yeah.
That was a crazy one.
Yep. 3 close wins. Yep.
Exactly. So, close wins. I mean, still wins are wins. So, Oh man. All right. Well, not much we can say about this. My thing is with Vanderbilt, they're in a dangerous part of the season. Do you play for the win for this season, or do you keep playing for the future, or whatever? They do have Ken Sills, a senior backup quarterback who's been around the program a long time, who did have some success at the end of the game last week. But do you try to go with a quarterback that may not turn the ball over? As we saw that uh, AJ Swan's thrown 7 picks, and that doesn't include fumbles and other turnovers. He's at what point do you go with the senior for ball protection? And for Vanderbilt, how long do you stay with Swan if he's struggling early or making mistakes? You have a chance to make a bowl game this year, but it's going by quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with whatever quarterback gives me the best chance to win because, in coaching, you're never guaranteed next year. So
Yeah.
uh, I'm willing to play the older player if that gets me even just one more win.
I love it. I love it. Vanderbilt, people who play football using perform will not make it far. Well,
So
that's a good way to describe Vanderbilt football. I
I
think over
did go
there.
to an Auburn Vanderbilt game in Nashville. Would have been 2001,
Uh huh.
and the only time I've ever been to that stadium. And yeah, I mean it's the least hostile environment you'll ever go to.
Yeah,
Um,
I was looking at the Kentucky game last week, and the whole opposite side of the stadium looked like it was all blue. It was
yeah,
half empty and all blue that was
well,
there.
and at one point, like either they were tied late or Vanderbilt had the lead late, and there was a Vanderbilt fan standing next to me, and he goes, "Don't worry, we'll lose," because he saw that I had an Auburn hat on.
Yeah,
Uh, in other words, they expect to lose there.
yeah, it's a culture of losing.
Yeah.
So yes, it's accepted. Hey, but they got great baseball teams. They used to have great basketball teams. So
Yep.
all right, well, we're going to go ahead into picks. Start of it. Well, last week B from O was here with us. B from O went 5-4. I was 8-1. So overall, I'm 40-8, and the guests are 33-15. So um, JT Kirk Vanderbilt has the enthusiasm and dedication of a MAC school.
Huh.
Let's send Vanderbilt and Missouri to the MAC. How about that?
Yeah.
That would be a
We'll
fair trade off.
we'll take Clemson and Florida State to replace them.
Absolutely, dang straight. So, all right, let's see what we will have this week. You can see the list of guests coming up in the next few weeks. Actually, next week I got MC Wally. I'll talk about that. And JT Kirk, you're in a couple weeks, man. There's 1 week where you're currently scheduled off, but I may change that. I got to think about that. So let's look this week's games. Remember, this is not a gambling website. Do not do stuff for gambling. We are not picking with points per se. Uh, the guest picks up how they want to pick. The guest may deal with points as a guide. I don't know. That's up to them. I like my guests. They pick whatever else. Some you can use the force. Mark D with a C was a mutant doing his typical standard engineering stuff. The misses used marching bands last year. Esh Singh used rolling D&D dice, all kinds of numerous combinations. Squeaka used cheese, just dropping cheese. Yeah, actually, she would have tied me had the cheese picked Georgia instead of Samford. That's how good the cheese was. And Daisy Blossom this year picked used the better looking cat mascots. Cat mascots had the lead the preference, but the better looking cat mascots had it. So hey, folks, this is for fun. We're having fun. So I do not know how Small Time Republic picked the games. If he's going to do it very serious, analytical, or if he's going to surprise us. But let's wait and see when I reveal the first game that we got here. We've got, of course, the Arkansas and Texas A&M game, and my guest picks Texas A&M. All right. What was your basis for picking your games this week, and why would you take Texas A&M?
I just think Texas A&M, they have. I want to say I heard a couple weeks ago they have like the fourth most talented roster in the country,
Mm-hmm.
even with all the transfers they've had out. So I just feel like they've got the talent to beat a team like Arkansas. Um, and with that said, Arkansas really impressed me against LSU. So it was not an easy pick, but yeah, and I do look at the betting lines as well to try to determine what Vegas is thinking, and Vegas did
because
favor
because
A&M.
in a general sense, it's kind of they have a good feel with where games generally go, and it's a kind of an accepted practice or kind of an industry standard. Uh, a lot of times, but yeah, I don't use them, but yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like A&M has the talent. I think there's a little bit of a talent gap there, and I think A&M will take care of business. Now it will be Bobby
Mhm.
Petrino versus Arkansas, so there's that
Yes. Oh,
factor.
never rivalry. Well, I tell you what, that's what's been kind of the thing of A&M's offense was so bad last year. Now with Bobby Petrino, you have a real offensive mind there coming for Texas A&M. So, um, but anything else before I reveal my pick?
Nope.
All right. Well, on this note, I will take Pig Sooie.
Nice.
I struggled with this game though. I struggled with this game. Like I said, I don't trust Arkansas still much anymore. But I hate Texas A&M, and I don't think I think they may be talented, but I think their coaching is yeah, overrated. I've never liked Jimbo Fisher. I think he's been overrated as an offensive coordinator. He's a better coordinator than he's ever been a head coach. Yes, he won a title at FSU, but a lot of that was recruiting and talent. The job you see at Texas A&M when you're hired to come in to beat Alabama to win the SEC West and go to Atlanta, and you haven't done it since 2017.
By the way, my
Yeah.
least favorite football memory was Auburn having a 17-point lead on Florida State in that
Oh,
game. Yep.
yes, I know. Sorry about that, my
That's
friend.
okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh God, who saw that coming? The great Bobby Bowden. And also, rumors about what happened with Bobby's exit. But on the field, I think I like KJ Jefferson. Arkansas does have the talent, and will Max Johnson put two games together? We will see. This
Yep.
game could go either way, but I'm still going with the Pigs on this one. So
Also, Max Johnson could have a career in something we can't talk about on your show with
yeah,
that name. Yep.
gosh, yeah. Oh my gosh, Masters. Speaking ball games, have you heard Darth Maul is confirmed to star in the next Space Jam movie? Yes. Hey, maybe I would be fine for that. Why not? A bunch of fictional characters, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Bring
And
on
they give
Darth
it. I mean, you
Maul
can
in
get him
it.
for half off.
Yeah. Bum. Thank you. Oh gosh, you guys are great out here. You guys, 12 of y'all are still with us here. Over 2 hours. We're going to wrap up in the next 2.5 hours. Dang, we're pushing 2.5 hours. See, I told you this time is flying and we're having fun. Georgia at Auburn, small time. You picked Georgia Bulldogs.
I did. I just feel like there's Auburn can't do enough offensively to get the victory.
Yep. Again, yeah, there's pretty much this could be like I said earlier. The only chance is turnovers, breaks, stuff like that could go Auburn's way. Miscues by Georgia, but not very likely here. I'm going with Georgia here also. So, all right. So now my game of the week: Florida at Kentucky. The Gators are on the road in Lexington, and small time Republic takes the Gators. Wow.
Yep. I really was. I mean, you could convince me either way on this game.
Uh-huh.
You really could.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say it. I mean, I wouldn't. It would not shock me at all if Kentucky won.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Eric Ainge, the former Tennessee quarterback, is they do their picks, they do their stuff, and he's actually saying Florida's got this game. That anything can happen, but he's picking Florida. Yep. Not comfortably in terms of margin, but comfortably in terms of a good pick. Florida wins. Yep. So, I
he's
listened
been known to ruffle some feathers, by the way. Eric Ainge.
but I love him though.
Yeah.
As a talk show host, as a host, I love him because I tell you, I use it to my Gator fans because he's like last year, like our basketball coach Mike White, who's now at Georgia. He's like, let Mike White be the Gator basketball coach forever, you know. So, and he's actually had some comments about Napier. A lot of them up there have, and I'm like thinking, well, you know, when your opponent's talking about your coach, it's not a good thing when they like him and stuff. See, I did that with Phil Fulmer. I mean, Fulmer had a couple good years, but towards the end, it was like he knew how to lose a game. So,
Yep.
so, oh, Master says Kentucky Fried Chicken. They don't win football games. There you go.
See, I always thought
Actually,
Mike White would go if he ever left Florida, it'd be for Ole Miss because that's where he went to school.
well,
But
I was glad he was gone. He would shut the offense down in the last 4 minutes, no matter what the lead was.
true.
It was horrible, but I just he just left me stunning so many times, and Ford had some decent talent back then. But yeah, talk about Kentucky Fried Chicken. We were at the original KFC, the museum actually in Corbin, Kentucky. So it's a museum restaurant. I need
So
to do a show and tell on that once. Yes, sir.
in 2015, me and a buddy of mine that he went to Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
we drove up to the Auburn, Kentucky game. It was a Thursday night game, I believe, and we went to the game together. And Auburn won a close game, but on the drive up there, we stopped off at the original KFC.
Oh, right.
So I got to go
Tell
there
you,
8 years ago. Yep.
it was nice, and they had the little museum part and stuff, and really cool.
Yep. Like half modern, half old. Yep.
Yes, yes, it was. Although the stories, you know, he was kind of a cranky old guy. Supposedly, they when they bought him out and all that, he'd go into the restaurant and say, "This stuff's crap," and a little more strongly. But you know, it's like, oh, but hey, well, that's what happens when you sell it. You lose control of it. Just like a $4 billion franchise that some mouse flushed down a damn toilet. So, oh, sorry, not that thing again. Sorry.
Yep.
And who keeps reinventing a way to bring a character back from the dead to make my friend Masters out there torture me with it, among other people. All right.
Yep.
Hey, all right. My pick on this one is with that. Like, so, Ames, Florida, you taking Florida. I knew you were going to come in, Lisa, when you heard me and bought Darth Maul. I knew you were going to do that. Hey, I'm taking Kentucky. I am so anti Napier right now. I'm still. If he had not shut down the offense against Kentucky in the second half, had he left it open and really like Tennessee fans were like, well, we did all this stuff in the second half. And I'm like, yeah, but that was not the same offense. Yeah, y'all had drives in the third quarter, but when they went out there, they ran, and then threw. You know, it was not the same play calling in the second half as it was in the first. I got to see him now. To his advantage, they did go on the road and crush Texas A&M last year.
Yeah.
So he has been able to go on the road and play a good game. The Utah game I turned it off because it was boring because they refused to do something offensively different, but they only gave up 24.7 on the first play of the game. This defense may be for real, and the defense may carry this team in a game like this. So I think JT was talking about Georgia in a tight slog of a game, but hey, tangent and oh god, here we go. Mall is there. You go. Let's see. Oh gosh, Stone White in the 7 malls.
Well, my question is, why wasn't Ray Park, the Darth Maul actor, cast as Snow White? You know, I demand a recast.
There you go. Hey, how
That would
about
make as
that?
much sense as what they've done. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Man, somebody that you get a role of a lifetime and trash it. It's like,
Yeah.
why? But anyway, I guess
it's called being young and dumb.
I guess so. Well, but hey, when you get the paycheck, you can be as dumb as you want to. That's the thing.
That's true.
Get the cash in front in advance. Oh, now we go to the game, and Oxford LSU is on the road at Ole Miss, and you are taking the Tigers.
I am. That's 3 road games in a row right there. I'm kind of feeling nervous there.
I know that's a lot of road games in the SEC. It really is.
Yep.
But yeah, any particular reason, or just for some of the reasons we talked about earlier?
I think Brian Kelly is the better coach. And
Agreed. I won't disagree with that. I won't disagree with that. I mean, Jane Daniels is very good at quarterback for LSU, but I think at home, Jackson Dart could be very, very good. LSU has shown the susceptibility to give up some points too, so maybe they won't be as a hard offensively weak as it was against Alabama. But I'm going to still take LSU with this win. I mean, coaching is the biggest thing because I did not. You
The
see what I see in the chat here?
yeah.
It's just, did I mention watch an Ahsoka episode? That was almost as bad as the Cowboys for the last few years. See, it's football related. Okay. That,
Well,
that's
the Disney Star Wars shows are kind of like the Dallas Cowboys. They start out with promise, every season, and then by the end of it, you're like, what the heck happened?
oh, they get to the end for the playoffs where your payoff is, and they leave you disappointed.
Right.
Uh,
Exactly.
Gosh, you guys, that's what I love with the chat now. We still got 12 people here hanging with us, and that's not including anybody that may just be lurking. Make sure you smash that like button and everything else and all that. And Lisa's saying exactly out there. So
Now, I will
it's
say this: Ole Miss
yes,
really has their back to the wall. So
yes.
sometimes when you have the back to your wall, that's when you're most dangerous.
Well,
Um,
especially to a coach, a coach, who's burned enough bridges. He's also already got turmoil even there at home, because it does memory does not set well, like you said, when you're flirting with an arch rival within your division. It wasn't even like he was flirting with Tennessee or Florida. He flirted with an opposed, a hated rival within the division. So yeah, so memories do not die quickly here in the South.
yep.
So, all right, well, let's go to Alabama, Mississippi State. You with me? Small time. We will.
Another road team. Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
four in a row.
Yep.
Alabama, Mississippi State. Any particular reason?
I just feel like Alabama's going to use, like I mentioned earlier, Alabama's going to use that old man football like they did when Saban kind of had his first run of
Mm-hmm.
titles there, and I just think that they're just going to be too physical for Mississippi State.
Yeah.
And Mississippi State, that didn't run for much against South Carolina. I just think you got to be a little more balanced to be able to beat Alabama. But hey, you never know. You never know. Mississippi State, that it could happen.
Yep.
I don't see it happening.
See, that's the hard difficulty about like doing a preseason show where you're picking and speculating. You're looking at roster compositions and stuff like that. Before the season started, this was a game I had Mississippi State winning. They have a veteran team, veteran quarterback returning,
Yep.
had a pretty prolific offense for a lot of games, and with Alabama with the coach with the quarterback questions, which has proven itself this year. The last game against Ole Miss, they got good quarterback play. I kind of looked at it as a road game, not very confident in Milroe, but then again, LSU goes into Mississippi State and just dog paddles them really quickly, makes short work of it. Alabama is still a king of the SEC. Don't be in a hurry to write them off because Saban is coaching. I mean, the biggest thing is he'll be ready. And so many times in these type of matchups, you want to pick the smaller team or the underdog, and they got all this stuff going for them. And then you walk in and they walk into a buzzsaw. The game's ugly and over. This could be a game that's over quickly. I think Alabama depends on what kind of start Milroe has, if they can silence the cowbells in this game. So I've moved from where I was before the season, especially seeing with Mississippi State. Not sure whether it wants to be a passing team or running team. I go with the Tide in this one. So, and we got OC Dobbins yelling, "Roll Tide!" Yeah, Kirk agrees with Alabama. All right.
Yep. Saban was probably coaching before Zach Arnett was even a twinkle in his
Probably.
father's eye. Yep.
Yeah, kind of like I was watching football games in Gainesville when you were running around
Right.
the house at 5 years old. That's so funny. God, I feel old again. Thank you, folks. One of the exciting games of the week that I'm looking forward to is the South Carolina at Tennessee game. Like I said, following the people out of Tennessee, definitely be listening to them tomorrow. they are amped up for this. They've been waiting for this well since before last year even happened. So some more time. You're taking the Vols at home. Any particular reason why?
Yeah, I feel like they get the firepower to outscore them. I think this will be a high scoring affair. Um, but I think Tennessee just has what they need to do to beat them. I feel like they had a good tune up game last week, whereas South Carolina had a real challenge on their hands. So basically Tennessee had 2 weeks to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
Although with that said, Texas San Antonio is not as bad as people think, and in fact I think they were ranked at one point last year.
They were the problem with with them this year. I think is Frank Walker. I don't remember the name exactly, but they had a starting quarterback that's very good. Had a very good reputation. He's been injured all season. He's not played this season,
Yeah,
and he's the quarterback of the team last year that was ranked. And so, actually, some talk was that he was talking about retirement during the offseason because of injuries and stuff. So um, this is a game though there's a lot of turmoil. Well, not a lot of turmoil, but they were really unhappy after Florida beat them, and it was such a good day of listening to sports talk up there for a bit. But they've moved on. They're worried about the quarterback. South Carolina depends on the defense. If they can get enough defense to slow Milton down, confuse him like the Gators did, like Austin P did, just because it's in Knoxville does not mean this team is going to automatically roll away with it. That game against Austin P was a struggle for a lot longer. South Carolina, if they can avoid turnovers, get some scores. Um,
yeah.
if Spencer Rattler gets hot, this is another one of those. I hate to say it because it sounds like so many times we're the what ifs, but a lot of times it does come down to what happens on the field. You
I mean,
can,
this could be like a 41-37 type game.
yeah, and it could also be a 17-14 game.
Yeah,
And I tell you, I think South Carolina would rather have a low scoring game than Tennessee would. Tennessee wants to run tempo and make it a track meet, but I think South Carolina would be happy playing more of a slower down, ugly type of football game. So, but hey, you never know. Get ready to hear Rocky Top at every first down that's made by Tennessee. So I'm going to take the Vols 2 at home. I think revenge is big on for them. South Carolina, I tend to think that South Carolina is a little bit overrated, at least with the coach with Beamer. But he got hot last year when beat the big win over Tennessee, and then the amazing, stunning upset of Clemson on the road at Death Valley with the team that was standing on the verge of making the college playoffs last year. Remember, Clemson
mhm.
was talk about being one of the four to go to the college football playoffs till the loss against uh, South Carolina at home. So, all right. Any other thoughts on this one?
No,
All
not
right.
really. I think it'll be a fun game to watch.
Yep. So, like we said, and I'm going to ask a question when we get to this last game. Missouri at Vanderbilt. We won't kill too long because we've been going a while. But Missouri, Vanderbilt. We talked a lot about it earlier. You take Missouri, and I'm agreeing with you on Missouri. So we disagree only on the Florida Kentucky game, where I take Kentucky. Small time takes Florida. I take Arkansas. You take Texas A&M. But any comments about Missouri at Vanderbilt?
Uh, no, again, like every Missouri game, I think it could be close, but I think they edge them out.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you. I will tell you that again. This is a game Vanderbilt. If Vanderbilt wants to make a postseason bowl game, they've got to win this game. This is a must-win for them. Um, I'm going to let's see. Let's see. There's something up here. Let's see. Lisa had asked about it's uh it's 27-17 Lions over the Packers in the fourth quarter. Wow, that is a comeback so far. You never
Yep.
know. But I tell you what, folks, a little bit of NFL talk. Last Sunday, remember, this New Orleans Saints had a lead, had an 18-0 lead early in the game against the Packers.
Oh
When
yeah,
Derek Carr got hurt, but then the Pack scored 18 unanswered in the fourth quarter to win the game.
yep.
So,
Saints are my
exactly.
team, so I'm not too big in NFL, but
Yeah.
They're the closest team to where I live. So
Yeah, that had to be a what rough loss, losing the quarterback and then losing a lead like that, especially with
yeah,
Jameis Winston. You have an experienced quarterback. It's not like you had a no-name quarterback out
right.
there. You actually had a guy that's been a starter in the league and not be able to protect a 17-point lead is just kills you. So games when you look back at the end of the season. So that's where we are with the picks. For this week. Only disagree on 2 games. We'll see how they run. Let me go back. I wanted to bring that. Okay. Let me ask you this question. Because it's such a stellar week, if all the games, if you had to pick 2 games to watch, especially, what would be your most watched game if one that you had to watch or that you really want to watch from a competitive standpoint?
Um, mm, from Florida at Kentucky, or maybe South Carolina at Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. To me, it's South Carolina, Tennessee. That's the game I'm
Yep.
the most interested in seeing how that, because it could be one way or the other. Very close, and then Florida, Kentucky could be too. But I'm a little, like I said, I'm a little probably too negative. But yeah, I just I fear for the results, so that kind of clouds my judgment. But
Yep.
but in terms of a game that I'm not involved in, Arkansas Texas A&M could be a fun game if both offenses get to moving and scoring. You
Yep.
know.
I think Arkansas, A&M, Florida, Kentucky, LSU, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Tennessee, Missouri, Vanderbilt. I think
Mhm.
5 of those 7 will be decided in the fourth quarter.
There you have it.
Yep.
There you have it. Well, Small Town Republic, it's been great having you here with us tonight, and thank you for being here. You got any other last thoughts or comments? And
Um, no. Thank you for having me on, Dadman. This is months in the making, so
absolutely,
glad to be here.
really a year in the making. So we still
Yeah.
got 12 people with us. That's what's so amazing. 12 people, and we're at 2 hours 45 minutes. And I appreciate your time, and I love talking football. And this has really been really cool. We had some great guests this year: OC Dobbins, and B from O, and everybody that's come in has been great. And it's really interesting too with the people that I've mixed it up with people that aren't into football or into sports, but then when you have the people that really are into football, it adds a different element to things. So, all right. Well, on that note, let me transition with this one here. Oh, wait, hold a second. Let's see. Hold on a second. Buddy says USC, Colorado, Notre Dame, Duke. We'll watch Oregon State, Stanford local. Oh, those are the games you're going to be looking at for this week. Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, Stanford probably will get crushed. Colorado, I don't. Who knows? Maybe if they're at home, it won't be like Oregon, Notre
Yeah.
Dame, Puke. That could be interesting, especially if that's in North Carolina. That could be an interesting game nationally. Take a look, folks. The last few weeks I've been going live on Saturday morning, so I may do it again this Saturday morning just to get up, wake up, and talk college football before before all the pregame shows, or even if they're on, I talk over them. I don't care, but hey, I like talk college football. Lisa says thank you, Dadman and Small Town Republic.
Well,
Hey, and thank you all to you guys out there in the chat and for hanging on. Masters is the hockey infiltrator here spying on you. Hey, spy away all you want, sir. Spy all you want. Well, listen, what I'm going to say here with this is yeah, exactly, JT Kirk. Let's hit that. Make sure you're still 2 things. Make sure you're still subscribed, because YouTube does weird things with the subscriptions. 2, also they also changed the notifications. I've actually had somebody that talked about how they went and checked their notifications and have been turned to random or periodic, not the all. So make sure you hit all, and I'll talk to the backup too. So Nevada, Fresno State. Yeah. And folks, like Buddy keeps talking about some West Coast games. West Coast football is awesome too. It's just too much to talk about all at once in one show. I live in the Southeast, but definitely some great college football action out there. And yes, the real Dadman Walking on Twitter at Dadman Walking 55, because there's somebody else with the name but has a different avatar and a different app.
I
So
saw that whenever you posted that a while back. Yeah.
it's just crazy. Yes, it's crazy. So
What is the
you know,
imitation is the sincerest form of flattery?
exactly. That's why they tell me all the time. I kind of take I mean, I've only been doing this for barely over a year, and it's like I'm thinking like who did who
It,
who would
it
even take the time?
at least now, if someone says, "Hey, Dad, man, you sent me a really mean DM," you at least know, you know,
Yeah, exactly. What did I
r-
do?
yeah,
At least let me know what I did to start it. But okay, well, hey, well, we can use it for leverage. So,
yeah,
but yeah, but I was talking about great sports people that know their sports. Oh my gosh, here we go. We're getting another conversation. This kind of happens with us too, but I want to hit it a little bit because Buddy talked about the Nevada, Fresno, some of the West Coast games. Do you follow much of the West Coast football, or do you
um,
follow
yeah. I mean,
mostly the Southeast?
I usually fall asleep to it. So,
I agree. Yes,
yeah.
exactly. West Coast,
I mean,
and
I enjoy college football to the extent that, like, if Nevada and Fresno State, if it's 11:30 at night and I'm falling asleep and that's the only game on, then I'll have that on. That'll be what's on the TV.
oh my God, Masters, I'm not saying that one down there. It's like, but I'm like you too. I love those 11:30 games and stuff like that. It's it's amazing. I mean, a couple weeks ago I was up in Athens. I was like with my kids' house, and everybody was quiet. I had to be quiet watching in that Colorado State game. The missus are proud of me watching the Florida Tennessee game and not screaming like I normally do. But Wade, glad you're still here. Colorado will lose to USC, is what he's saying. Yeah, I got you. Well, you never
Yeah.
know, man. I tell you, especially if that game's in Boulder, you know, it makes a difference. They went up to Oregon. Everybody knows Eugene is a nasty place to play, especially if you're a Beavers fan. It's lots of things happen when people go on the road in any of these conference actions. So, well, with that, we'll go ahead and start to wrap up for good, unless people have something else to say. Let me take one last look. It looks like it's still 10-point lead, and the Lions up on the Packers. Uh, and in the college games right now, Tulsa, let's see, let me see it. Last it looks like Tulsa still leads 31-18 at the end of the third. Sam Houston, I need to do a refresh on that though. So let me see what that. Oh, Tulsa's up 48-18 with 4 minutes left in the game over Temple. Yeah, that needed a refresh.
Wow.
B from O, Sam Houston is leading Jacksonville State 21-14 with 10 minutes left in the fourth. Western Kentucky's leading Middle Tennessee 29-10. Kind of surprised by that. And of course, Tulsa's up by 30 on Temple. So that's it for tonight's action. Of course, the Detroit is still up 10 in the NFL. Um, beware the murder beaver. Yeah, all these, that's God, all these topics that I have to talk about college football and not enough time, or I've got to do some specific streams. The advent of these stupid turnover things, because you know what the Beavers have? The U has the turnover chain, right?
Yeah.
And all the things, and the Florida has this damn marching band drumstick thing, and I'm like the drum major thing. I'm like, what the hell? What is that supposed to be? The Beavers have the turnover chainsaw.
Wow.
Turnover chainsaw. So I wonder what the Ducks have.
I guess I'm old school. I'm against all that stuff, but
Oh, I'm agree. I agree. I would too.
I know at
Oh
one
my
point
god.
the worst one was this was, I think, maybe Butch Jones last year at Tennessee. I
Uh
think they
huh.
had a turnover garbage can, um,
Why?
where it was a big
Why?
orange garbage can where you would dunk a
Why?
ball in it if
How?
you got the turnover.
How could you ever? In what world or dimension does that make sense?
Yeah, uh, the it's not the best representation to say, oh yeah, we're really into garbage. Yeah,
Exactly. Hey JT, can you throw a link in for me in a minute? I want to send a link. I put a link to Klobby, his stream, but just hold off for just a minute. But if you can get that ready to put in there for everybody that needs more programming, we got 12 people still here. Oh, thank y'all so much for making it a great night. Small time again, of course. But we're going to tease. We're going to talk about football guests with football knowledge. I'm really excited about this guy. He's a local guy that oh my gosh. Now see, I can post this one here. That's a good one. Yes, you're right. See, you know how to phrase it properly, but yes. But this guy is going to be I'm excited about this. He's done voice work at local football games. Excitement, loves football, loves a Gator fan. I'm really excited about this show next week with him. But it's on a special night. It's Tuesday, not Thursday. It is Tuesday night, October 3rd at 8 p.m. Reason why was originally we were supposed to be out of town next Wednesday, but with the trip canceled, it's too late to move it back. So we'll stick with the Tuesday night. So different time for us. So be sure to be here to enjoy that with us too. Uh, Scheduled guests we had B from our last week, Small Town Republic this week. Next week is MC Wally. JT Kirk comes up in a couple weeks. You notice there is a week missing. I may do a stream anyway. Like I said, originally when everything was set, we were not going to be available to do it. Then we got Martin D with C, AFK, Jane Theory, Whoopa Troopa, and Lorena Creole. Dates and guests are subject to change as things happen and occur. So listen, Sunday, 6 p.m. at night. Join me for another Sports Weekly Dadman, which is really basically football at this point. We'll take a look at the college football results from Saturday. We'll look at the updated top 25 polls. We'll also look at the NFL action for the day and the results of the late games in the afternoon as they wrap up. So join me for that. Also, like I said, Saturday morning, I've been starting to do at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, just getting on and talking college football. So hey, yes, and Lorena, yes, I follow her for more. You followed her for more than 2 years. So have I, Masters. She's a great, incredible. We've gotten to meet her several times. Actually, she was on my show last year. The good theme with it, and she jumped on it for this year too. She's the Queen of Florida. So since she's the Queen of Florida, why not have the Queen of Florida here for the Florida State Week?
And she does a lot of stuff for her members as far as streams.
Absolutely. That's why I'm watching Ahsoka, because of being a member over there. I go in there and watch it with them and stuff, and have a lot of fun. So, oh my God, he's gonna have Darth Maul jokes prepared. So, B for Mo, thank you, sir, very much. Appreciate it. But don't leave me yet, folks. I do want to ramp a couple things. I'm going to allude to a couple things. I'm going to start trying to break out something when I do late night shows, something different than just a chill chat per se. What we call late night with Dadman and friends. Now, when this happens, I don't know. Could be completely random. Sometimes it's trying to not overtrip other streamers and stuff like that, depending on how I feel. Got to go to work the next day, a lot of other things. But looking at coming up with a different concept than just a chill chat when it's involving a panel or a group of people together. But look for this in the future to come out. With something we call Late Night with Dadman and Friends. Of course, follow me on X or Twitter. That's the best way to follow when I go live. Follow me there, but also get the notifications like we talked about on YouTube and Twitch. There's also another, like I said, the chill chat or somethings are now going to become, really more back to what they were, which is maybe a solo a solo stream, or occasionally some people coming on talk about some real things. We'll have the chilling with where we got guests coming on certain topics. One that I can announce is in November 1st. Justin and the Red Shirt will be on with me talking some animation stuff. I'm cartoon stuff. I'm really looking forward to that and other things that are working in the background. There is some science fiction stuff that's coming up, possibly some real silly stuff. Cool. And so keep an eye out. I'm not football and Fortnite only. I'm out to do a lot of different things, and be ready for some announcements soon about one thing in particular. And just trying to roll it out at the right time and not be overwhelmed with it.
By the way, speaking of science fiction,
yes.
I don't know. There's no particular reason why, but lately I've been watching the Planet of the Apes TV series. The only season they had of it.
Oh, really?
It's
They
from
when was that?
1975.
Oh, that long ago. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So they capitalized on the success of the movie.
Right. They made like 5 movies in 6 years, and then the
Hmm.
TV series, the next
Yeah.
year, and Roddy McDowell is in it as a different ape. But,
Well, what's interesting? It's kind of one of those talks about Star Wars. We'll bring it up again with the Ahsoka show. That maybe it's not. I mean, and I don't know where I heard it or who I heard it from, but to give it credit, and it may have been JT. I think it probably was JT Kirk again. JT probably to take credit if Anna's son is there's Star Wars to me is not translating from the big screen with the big fanfare music, the theater presentation to the at home, the episodic television thing.
yep,
I'm losing. It just does
I
not
agree.
feel like the same thing, and I'm really trying my best to give it a fair shot.
Yeah. And I'd love to give credit to whoever said it. It may have been Chris Gore, I don't remember, but I did hear somebody on the stream this week say, Star Wars is meant for the big screen and Star Trek is meant for the small screen.
Yep,
And
I know, and I had the same thing, and I can't remember exactly where I heard it, but I know I've heard it somewhere.
yeah,
So, all right. So in that case, so of course, watch us randomly for Fortnite fun with Dadman and friends, impromptu streams that pop up when I need something to do, or if I stay up late at night, or somebody says, "Hey, Dadman, let's stream some Fortnite." That always happens. So my next stream will be Tuesday. Well, the Sunday, remember sports. We'll talk about that probably Saturday morning. I will be on another channel, Twitch channel tomorrow night playing Dead by Daylight, and then Martin D with a C tomorrow night, late at 12:30 for late night Fortnite. Again, Sunday for sports, and MC Wally on Tuesday. After that, it'll be a little bit. So keep watching me for Twitter on my Twitter channel to see when we go live, and we'll see what's coming up. JT, if you have Clobby's link, if you go ahead and put that in for me now. So, oh yeah, Wade, yes, okay. Let me know when. Best thing is to give me I'll come. I'll do it. Just the thing is, I need a date. Give me dates and times. I have got a calendar. I need to get 2 calendars now. I'm actually booking 2 months out in advance now. It's crazy, but with the types of stuff I'm trying to keep everything straight, it's fun. But yeah, I know I contacted you like 3 months ago, like in the middle of the summer, Small Time Republic. I was like, but it was just like get on the schedule
yep.
early enough,
Get
So
it
it
laid out.
happens.
Yep.
Exactly. So folks, make sure you catch us for the Fortnite 2. And on Monday night, this is a new one here with me and Hungry Boy. Monday night. Ta-da! I surprised myself. I forgot about this. The missus made this thumbnail night. Monday night will be a chill chat, all things Police Academy, with me and Hungry Boy. We're going to be talking about at least mostly the original Police Academy movie. We actually picked up a DVD with all 7 Police Academy movies on it. And it's like, whoa, hey. So get them all in one. It was pretty cheap. So,
Nice.
but hey, and like I said, see you Monday at 8 p.m. Don't make me flare my nostrils. Mrs. said Bobcat. That was a Bobcat goal.
Yeah, the
Line.
Police Academy series, or you could call it the Gutenberg Bible,
The Gutenberg Bible.
but a different Gutenberg. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. The Steve Gutenberg. So definitely not that 3 Men and a Baby movie, but hey. So join us for that. We appreciate you being here. Remember, live streams, everything's over on YouTube and Twitch at Dadman Walking 55. Also, find out, follow me on Twitter at Dadman Walking 55 to make sure you get the latest. Okay. And folks, go over there. You need some more programming this evening. If you want, it's a more of a variety type stuff. The good old Clobby's Clubhouse with him, Raquel, and Mark, all friends of the channel that have appeared here. Go over there, say hi to them, sit back, enjoy them for a bit, and say hi to them too. Yes, Blue Oyster Bar. Yes, exactly. There you go. So go say hi to my friends over there. Y'all have a good evening, and I'm going to say see you next Tuesday with MC Wally at 8 p.m. for football. But we will definitely see you. Follow me on Twitter, get all the notifications, and we will catch you later. Oh my gosh. You know what, Small Time Republic?
What's that?
We are 1 minute away from 3 hours.
So you're saying we got to stretch? We got to.
Yeah. Do you mind
It's
stretching for a
important
minute?
before and after the game to properly
Yes.
stretch out.
Yeah, it's exactly. I like to tell people I look at numbers. I'm an auditor, and I'm big with numbers. I love number things. So zeros and fives are kind of my thing, but it's like get that next 2 hours. That's the way I've done races and stuff before and stuff. Okay, get to this mark. You get a little mark here, and you get the next mark.
Yeah.
So
Just don't do like that lady did in the 70s at the Boston Marathon where she got in a car, or maybe it was a New York Marathon, one of those where she got in a car and it drove her for about 10 miles, and then she got out and resumed running and almost got
exactly.
away with it.
Well, hey, look at Masters. He said, let's do overtime. But I got to pay bills tonight. I do have to do some adult stuff tonight. I do have to do some real stuff. Otherwise, I would. Thank you to the chat. Thank you, the Great Small Town Republic. We have officially made it a 3-hour stream. On that note, good night, everybody.
Good
Bye.
night.